Hey guys, kinggath here, and welcome to another episode of the kinggath podcast. Today, I have a creator of city plans, one of the, I think he might actually have the most outside of the Rise of the Commonwealth team, and that's going to be not for long, because I think he's about to surpass us. Welcome, Yagisan. Did I say that correct this time?
Yes, you did.
Fantastic. I think I've said it on camera 2 or 3 times now, and every time you've sent me a message, nope, still wrong.
Yes. It's one of my highlights. It's whenever I see that I mentioned on there, I'll bring it up and go, he's going to mispronounce my name in 3, 2, 1. There it is.
I should have made it a running gag and just kept coming up with more creative ways to say it. So you really took to city plans. Like, you have a crazy, what do you have, like 20, 25? It's just an absurd number compared to everybody else.
That is a very good question because I don't release all of my plans.
Right.
Let me have a look at my GitHub.
Yeah, that's another thing I want to talk about your GitHub. You are crazy organized.
Wow.
Well, we'll just say it's a lot.
I've had 26, I believe, that I have released.
Wow.
But that doesn't count the ones that go into the city plan contest because I've only ever released those via the city plan contest. You don't get them separate.
Right. So there's 4 or 5 of those on top of it. Yeah, so you might have us surpassed. I don't remember how many we have. We've got most of the Commonwealth done except for Boston and Spec Island. And then a bunch of the DLC, but I don't know if I think we might have 30 total on the ROTC team. So you're probably like right on our heels, if not past us already, which is impressive for the one-man team you are.
You can thank coffee and occasionally copious free time for that.
Were you a big settlement designer before that? Like, would you spend a lot of time designing settlements in your own games just for fun?
To be honest, about the only part of Fallout 4 that I enjoy is the settlement building.
I don't think you're alone in that. I think a lot of Sim Settlements players are definitely in that camp as well, to where they're just like, I would have quit a long time ago if I wasn't playing in the settlement mode.
Oh, well, I have played through the main quest, although that was way back when it was first released, and all the factions disappointed me, and to be honest, I really don't care about Sean.
I don't think any of us do.
I mean, it's like, hey, I've been unfrozen. My junk still works, and oh, hello, Piper. Well, why do I need Sean?
Yeah, the whole Sean storyline just falls kind of flat, and I don't know if a Bethesda game is one where that kind of narrative can work. Like, that feels like something you'd see in a modern action RPG, or not action RPG, like an action linear game, not an open world game.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest disappointment for me was the faction system. Yay, I'm the director of the Institute, but I can't actually do anything.
Right.
Well, yay, I'm the general of the Minutemen. I can't do anything. At least Maxon and Desdemonia have the sense not to actually make you the leader. But yeah, I can justify the Railroad or the Brotherhood.
Well, at least with the Minutemen, you can build up lots and lots of artillery everywhere. That's kind of fun. But the Institute was... Yeah, the Institute was kind of awkward there, where you don't get to like, all right, I'm going to give my tech to the world and then just send an army of synths and with food up to help people. Like, here we go. There's an ending.
Yeah, that's a shame because that one had the most potential to be interesting to me.
I agree. I ended up playing through the Institute. I think in every single playthrough I've finished, I ended up siding with the Institute.
Yeah. So... because that was disappointing, I ended up sitting down and building settlements. And eventually I saw Sim Settlements pop up. I went, ooh, okay, this looks interesting. And when I think I started tinkering with it around version 2. But it wasn't until you released Rise of the Commonwealth that I really started to play with Sim Settlements. And yeah, I just make lots and lots of city plans.
They're really fun to see that everybody's getting in on those. I love seeing all of them that are coming out, especially now that we've got the contest going. But you were one of the first people that jumped on like whole hog right away, because you've got not only a bunch of ones for the vanilla settlements, but you've also been tapping into some of the third party. It's like there's just not enough settlements for you.
No, there isn't. I think the game will limit me to 128 based on the size of a papyrus array.
Right.
Yes, I did. In fact, once upon a time, used to script papyrus for Skyrim.
Oh, okay. So you've got a little knowledge on
Yeah,
that back end. Uh,
yes. So I understand it, but I just don't have the time anymore to go tinkering with that.
yeah, it can get pretty complex, especially like I feel bad for anybody who tries to decompile my code and try and figure it out because it's quite the gigantic mess to try and like work on top of Bethesda systems without editing anything vanilla. It's been quite the challenge. But
Yeah, I can imagine.
But it's been fun to get stuff like the add-on packs and the city plans supported because I think a lot of you are way more creative than I am. So it's nice to be able to like I can put my part out there. Like I'm good at systems design, so I can do that, and then still allow the community to kind of bank on that and build really cool stuff. Because if everyone were to have to code all of that for each of their city plans, it wouldn't be nearly as fun, or we wouldn't see nearly as many. So it's been fun to be able to create those tools, and I'm glad that you've been embracing them. So do you have like settlements that are you starting fresh for each of these city plans, or do you have like a whole bunch of designs you had from before sim settlements that maybe you're taking those ideas and implementing them into city plans?
The vast majority of my plans are, in fact, new from scratch. I have a lovely little Vault 111 save made when I first started the game, where I'm sitting right at the exit to the vault, and I generally leave the vault as level 1, turn on God mode, and sprint across the map to the settlement location. And we start at level 1, and usually by the time I've finished the build, I'm level 5 already, simply from building.
Right.
And most of them are brand new. I have gone back to rework my 10 Pines Bluff competition entry.
Okay.
Because it makes a very nice base for that very small area.
Right.
So, generally, as you've seen with most of my designs, I'm very much function first, and then aesthetics later.
Sure.
So
Yeah, because you tend to have like a plan of like, okay, these guys are going to like focus on this particular thing. Like they're gonna gonna focus on harvesting something, or they're gonna focus on making beer or whatever it is that they.
Yes.
You go utilitarian with their goal, and that seems realistic too. Like if that end of the world there, if they've got something that's working for them, they're gonna like go all in on it to try and gain themselves a little edge in that crazy wasteland.
In my head canon, as far as I'm concerned, the only way the Minutemen are going to be successful is if these settlements actually need each other. So I try to set up plans where we've got food exporters or water exporters, we've got importers. I tend to use the modded Red Rocket settlements as, Minutemen patrol outposts, so there's your security services.
Right.
But my plans aren't really designed to be standalone.
Sure.
They tend to expect that you've probably got one or two of my other plans somewhere.
Okay.
And I absolutely hate doors. You'll rarely see me put a door in on one of my plans. So if I've built a building, there's no door, please, by all means, customize the door yourself.
So you like the open community feel.
I just got sick of doors getting stuck in my face when I kept wandering around the settlement trying to build.
It's funny. I've had a to-do list item for Workshop Plus forever. That's, hey, make the doors automatically open when you go into workshop mode, because that would make life a lot easier. And
it would, and then a settler would just come and close it in my face again.
That's true. But I have the door manager code, so I could set it to automatically reopen with Sim Settlements. But yeah, that's just been one of those little things that I'm sure I'll do. Just one day I'll get tired of it myself, of like, oh, these damn doors won't stay open, and then just go fix it with code. Because that tends to be how most of my mod changes come about, is I just get sick of it myself. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to fix this.
That's how my robot caravan settlers mod appeared. I got sick of Brahmin.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, I got sick of Brahmin, so I pulled up Fallout 4 Edit and just started working on it in that.
Now, is that the only other mod you've done besides your city plans? For Fallout, I know you said you did a lot for Skyrim, but...
That one was one of the ones I've actually released. Most of my mods I don't release, because they're usually made for something that bugs me.
Okay.
Uh, Generally, things like integrating the DLC into the main game, or merging together other people's mods in a way that
Right.
makes my game, well, when the few times I actually get to play, when it makes my game actually fun.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. I've been considering. I don't want to get. I feel like it's a rabbit hole to go down to start doing patches and stuff for mods. Like I feel like you like once you open Pandora's box, there it can go. It can get pretty deep. Of like, oh well, then I could tweak this and that and make it a little more perfect. So I've been avoiding it, but I do have a couple of mods that have some conflicting features where I'm like, I could fix that, but
Well, every time I see a new release of Sim Settlements or creations by Coots, I always have to make a mod for that. I'm going to unlock all those buildable objects. I'm not doing that quest.
yeah. Delete all those global requirements on those object records.
Let's just force those global records to be automatically set. And
Yeah.
okay. Oh, the furniture. We need a build object for this. So I'll just remove that and that and that and that. How else do you think I get all of the Wasteland Ventures furniture and your
Ah,
furniture and
yeah,
kinggath's and Coots's desks all set up?
right. So
I'm not.
you're not going on each save and playing through all of our side quests.
That's not happening.
Right.
Because I leave the vault on a blank save to start most new settlements, and I do that because I want one settlement per save.
Yeah.
Because as you know, I have a GitHub full of my saves and each export,
I
and
am
sometimes I have
jealous.
to go back and fix that.
I am jealous of your organization. So, both your design idea of making the your settlements all interconnected and the keeping the save set like that. We tried to follow that same idea for the Rise of Commonwealth development, but we did not do it nearly as vigilantly as you have done because you've sent me some of your GitHub links and they're just like perfectly organized. Everything's dated and you've got the right files for everything. It's like, oh, I wish I was that organized. I'm so jealous of your GitHub.
Well, a long, long time ago, in what feels like a lifetime ago, I used to work in IT.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to be a systems admin, security specialist. So I got into a very strong habit of making sure all of my source code and documentation was version controlled.
And you
But that was a lifetime ago.
Well, it's a good
And
habit. It seems like you've kept up with because there's been a couple of times where it's been really helpful, especially as I've made feature adjustments and you've been able to like adapt instantly because you've got all your
yes,
files neatly organized and you've kept like each variation. So you've got like the original blueprints and then like the merge files and like you've got it all. So you're just like ready to go, like your scrap profiles, etc.
yes. Although I have had to regenerate a few of those recently. We've had some well, I've shown a few videos of what happens when my city plans go horribly, horribly wrong. Cafeola.
Did you ever get that
I,
sorted out?
I did, but I had to regenerate the city plan baseline.
Mm.
I mean, it was always exciting to come in, start a city plan, and then the entire settlement disappeared and you fell into the void. It's like,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
for any of the third party settlements, we don't have baselines for them on the server. So if you don't include the corrected like a one that's done correctly, which is so finicky. I'm sure you've noticed the finickiness. That's the best word I've got for Fallout 4 and for transfer settlements. Like occasionally, you'll follow the exact same steps on an export, and it works perfectly one time, and then completely botches the next time, even though you did the exact same steps. It's very weird.
yes.
Same with the check tools we have. You'll run it and it'll tell you like you've got four job plots and 6 residential plots and you're like perfect. Then you run it again. Then it's like now you have 12 of each. Like how? I definitely do not have that. And that's just like the game just reports back bizarrely, and it's not very unfortunate that we're trying to build these like simulation games on an engine that just doesn't want you to play that way at all.
Yes, yeah. I've been learning to try and keep my settlements a bit more compact to make sure it's all loaded so these tools work correctly.
Right.
But occasionally we do have to run the bed fix tool and refresh all the plots so everything actually passes correctly in final check.
Yeah. So have you built a save yet just to try it, like with most of your city plans in it, just to see what it would look like?
Well, my favorite feature of Conqueror is the fact that we can build city plans. All of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
All of them. So, of course, I loaded every single city plan and I kicked it off. Um, yeah, it took over 2 hours to build that, but it was definitely fun and worth it. But for the life of me, I really can't get Conqueror to build New Cafeola for me. I don't know if it's an internal settlement problem because I've only got two of those, and I
Right.
really need to update home plate.
It might be. I might have some sort, because there are a lot of things I've got like bizarre checks in. Like I never considered the fact that someone might do a city plan for home plate. So it might be that I just arbitrarily have some check to prevent it that could be fixed. So it's
Well,
your Nuka Cola, because you sent me a report on that, and it's definitely on my list. But some of that
yeah,
stuff that's kind of what would you say, pay gated, so stuff that's like specific to DLC or
yep.
Creation Club content, I tend to put on the back burner just because I only have X amount of hours a week, so I like to put it on things that everybody can benefit from as much as possible.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah,
my internal settlements, New Cafeola, home plate, those are a bit different from the external ones because I'll only do one level for them.
sure, okay,
So, so they'll go immediately from setup to a completely finished one.
yeah,
So that might be one of the differences, but they're all tiny. They're only going to be like 6 people, and it is pretty hard to squeeze all those plots in there. It is. I mean, it
yeah,
takes it takes a few hours to sit down there and mod poss everything in, and then we got to refresh it to make sure it's perfectly in place.
right.
Uh, I do have place anywhere, but sometimes I just need to console these plots right specifically in.
Yeah. Yeah, Place Everywhere is an amazing tool, but sometimes it can get real frustrating, especially with like rotation, or if you just want to do little tiny nudges, it can get kind of rough.
Yes, yeah.
The city plant. So you mentioned something there that I think I'm going to make a tutorial for soon, because I don't think people realize that they can do this. But city plans don't actually need to have the 4 levels. So that was just something we did, and that I think players appreciate when they're playing. But I think that Conqueror kind of changes the game there, and I think there's an opening for people to just take whatever settlements they have now in their, the ones they've spent all this time creating, export them, and just make 1 level city plans, because those are perfect for Conqueror, where for most people who are playing with that gameplay method, it's just about having new interesting cities to explore. They don't actually care if they ever level up again. And so I think there's room for for a lot of people to start doing that. Just take all those, because there's probably several hundred transfer settlements blueprints out there, and Lord knows how many people who have just designed really cool settlements just playing the game, that could instantly become city plans for Conqueror.
Very true, but it makes me wonder how long is it going to take someone's game to actually generate all those settlements? Some
Yeah,
of them
it's
are very complicated.
right. The code is pretty good at generating, is actually placing the items quickly. To do the full process. I don't know if you've looked at the new meter I added last patch.
I love that new meter. I love that new meter. Thank you. Thank you. Now
Yeah.
I know I can watch an entire episode of a TV show before before I even finish it.
Yeah, it's definitely designed for that, to be like, hey, go do something else for a while, and come back, because the game runs a lot more stable if you let that finish before you keep playing. But the first stage, which is places all the items, is actually really quick compared to the rest of it, and then those other stages can take literal hours, like to do
Yes.
all of the plot, because it has to. Well, you know how long it takes to refresh a plot. It's a very slow
Yes.
process. It has to
Yes,
do that
indeed.
to all 300 plots or whatever that get placed in the world, so it can take a while.
Well, let's see. I tend to have 15 settlers for an average vanilla settlement, so I'll tend to put in 29 plots for that.
Okay.
I've done almost all of the vanilla settlements at least once, but not all of them are actually good enough for release. So,
Okay.
plus, I've done almost every single red rocket in the game with the mod added settlement, and they tend to have 12. So we've got a whole bunch of 29 and a whole bunch of 23 plots. So yeah, it can can take a few hours
Oh
or
yeah,
a shift
absolutely.
at work.
Oh, that might be the yeah. It's unfortunate that Xbox has the timeout issue of like going like it'll just kind of stop the game because for them that's the best thing. That would be the best thing to do: start up Conquer and go to work, and then when you come home, it'll be ready for you. Because the Xbox is so damn slow with those city plans. Which is such a crying shame because part of it is it's a lot of processing power to do that part, to do all the papyrus processing, so they get the short end of the stick there. But then they also on top of it have the problem with the low memory too. So it's just double whammy. They're really hosed on that.
Yeah.
I actually play on I usually tend to play, and I don't know why I still do this. I tend to play Bethesda games first on console. I must like be a little bit of a masochist. I like to feel those load screen pain. And I don't know how people do it. I don't know how people continue to play on console when the game is available on PC. And I mean, I guess like it's the cost thing, but I mean, like once anybody who has gotten a taste of it on PC to like go back to console, it must be impossible.
Oh, probably they do like the pain.
That's why that must be my explanation. I don't know why I do it, because it's night and day. But like you said, even on PC, and I assume you're a tech guy. You probably have a pretty good quality gaming machine, and it takes a couple hours for it to run for you.
Not.
No, absolutely not. No,
absolutely not. No. I have it's best to call this a Franken PC.
Okay.
This PC is made up of all the parts that I have salvaged out of previous machines that have survived. So we've got a mixture of an SSD that my games sit on, my storage is on, hard drives that were pulled out of a laptop of mine before it passed away. I've got an overabundance of memory, which is good because I can't actually afford to replace the machine. I've got 32 gig of RAM, yay! The only thing I have that even comes close to using most of that is Fallout 4. But no, my PC has to have a specific requirement of being silent because, as some of you may know, I live in Japan, in Tokyo. And when they say we live in, well, chicken hutches crammed next to each other, they're not joking. So, silence was really, really important. So we got a bunch of what should be laptop parts crammed into a desktop.
So
with the
does that
best
mean
GPU.
Doing this podcast, you're going to have your neighbors yelling at you?
The neighbors won't yell at me. What will happen is I'll have a little chat to my wife saying, "Your husband's noisy." and then she'll come over and go, "Could you, for the love of God, please speak softly."
We'll ramp up your volume in the in post so that you can be nice and loud. We won't tell.
That sounds wonderful.
So you said you've got most of the vanilla settlements covered. Does that include the DLC stuff? Like, have you done Far Harbor or the Mechanic Slayer or any of those?
Not yet. I'd like to get that done soon, but I'm not terribly happy with the ones that I've currently got sitting on my hard drive. So until I'm actually happy with a plan, they're not coming out.
Okay.
Basically, for every plan that you see that I've released, 3 or 4 have died a horrible death. So they're not the first run that I've gone through.
That's I think that's that discipline that lets you do that GitHub, because I think most people are just like, got to get it out there. But I've heard many people who are professionals in the software world who do better work than I do always tell me, like, sometimes you just got to throw away bad work.
Yes, yeah.
And like that requires some discipline because you're sacrificing how many hours of the limited free time you have, and it's sometimes you just there's the urge to just be like, you know what, it's good enough, I'll get it out there. But I appreciate that you don't do that, because I love it when people put the effort in to make sure their stuff is high quality. Like it's an admirable trait.
Well, if I wouldn't play with it in my game, I don't see any point of releasing it. So the ones that I do release are the ones I like and the ones that I would plan to actually use if I had free time to play.
Well,
I could get free time to play. It just means I'm not making city plans.
yeah, I feel you on that, man. It's like I started a playthrough recently so I could relearn the game, like relearn what it feels to be a player, because I feel like I'll develop better content going forward if I'm in there, experiencing it. And it's like, man, so many times when I sit down to play, I'm just like, I could be designing new features. What am I doing in here?
We got going to run across the Commonwealth, and okay, that's an interesting location. Oh, okay, water. Okay, so if I start putting down that there, I can put a few water pumps in, and okay, this looks like a good spot for razor grain. And then suddenly there's a city plan is getting sketched out on the pad next to me. It's like, yeah, okay, we're not playing today. We're gonna try and put a farm in.
Now, have you opened up Pandora's box of making your own settlements yet? Of being like, all right, I like this area, I'm gonna make it an actual settlement mod.
Make my own? Strictly speaking, no.
Okay.
But I have taken, with permission, some of Tarsus 31's mods, repaired them, updated them, and gone over them with a very, very aggressive pruning of all those bloody brambles. Oh god, I hate brambles.
It's so fun to watch people who build on YouTube sorry all of you who I'm laughing at your pain, but you'll see how frustrated they'll get trying to be like, are you kidding me? Spring cleaning won't let me delete this one damn bush.
Yep, yeah.
And that's what you take care of. You go in and make sure that those are all removed or scrappable.
Well, I've done that with the mods that I've updated, and you'll see the Lakeside Cabin Red Rocket Settlements. I was very, very aggressive in removing those brambles. It's practically bold. You need Project Blueprint to put your own brambles back.
Right. I don't know if we have many of those, because the ROTC team is largely responsible for what goes into Project Blueprint, and they hate the brambles just as much. So I'm guessing they didn't add a lot to the selection to put back in.
No, but you do have some very nice Nuka World plants. I'll call them plants because I'm not entirely sure what they are, but they look like giant brambles, and I used some of them in a plan that I finished off 2 days ago.
Oh, cool. I'm trying to remember what they are. Are they those like tumbleweeds or something, like the Old West?
They're
movies?
Really big.
Huh.
They're really big. I don't remember what they're called, but they look like brambles, and they've got lots of spikes in them, and I'm pretty sure Hewitt has absolutely put them on one of his defense plots.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm so like, so those mods are so huge. I couldn't even tell you what's all in them. I mean, I think between all of them, there's like 12,000 items or something. It's just an insane collection.
There are. I do kind of wish there was more snapping and an easier to navigate menu, because there is so much stuff.
Oh, I know. It's one of those like dream projects where it was like, if I had unlimited time, I would make sure that that's polished up. But that's why it's, for those of you who are wondering what we're talking about, inside the City Planners Toolkit, there are a bunch of mods that I haven't released separately. They're buried in there intentionally because they're like a dev tool. Like, they're real rough around the edges. There's some of them don't have icons. Some of them have no collision, so you have to delete them with the console. Most of them have no stat points. They are designed for people who want to get in real dirty with their details. The big advantage to them is the fact that they add no mod requirements, so you get this crazy kit without having to tell your users like, hey, you have to have, what are some of the big settlement mods everybody was using for a while, like you gotta have SOE and Homemaker. Right. So it's like a nice way to tell people, like, you don't need any of that. You can just install these and go.
Yes, as I learned, people don't really download my city plans that need mods. Actually, they still get upset with me because I do like my occasional Creation Club decoration, but they're all optional. Nobody's really going to care if you don't get that coffee at coffee crafting station.
I think there's a certain contingent of people on the internet who just want to piss and moan. And so like they see something they don't like and they need to voice their frustration. So like there's some number of people who hate the Creation Club. And you know what? I get it. People are, it's in the marketplace, like in the gaming marketplace right now, it's hard not to see everyone's attempt at making money as predatory garbage, because there's so much bad practice going on with loot boxes and like microtransactions that lock behind upgrades that help you in multiplayer. So it's like, I think there's just this overcorrection by the community of like being viscerally against everything that looks like a microtransaction.
Oh yeah, I mean, if I've paid a substantial amount of money for a game, Fallout 76, I really don't really want to be nickeled and dimed for additional transactions in the game. It bugs me.
Yeah.
Creation Club's got a lot of what I would consider shit in it, but occasionally there's a nice gem like the coffee and donuts pack.
I love that
I
coffee
like
donuts
that.
pack. Yeah, I immediately built a plot for it. Like that was one of the only plots I've had time to build outside of the stuff that goes in the main expansions. And so it like I had plans for other ones. Like I wanted to do a arcade plot, and I have one like half designed. Because some of that there is some really cool stuff in the Creation Club stuff.
Yeah, arcade's nice. I believe Coots has a plot for that. Both you and Coots do coffee plots.
Yeah. But some of the other stuff is not very fitting into the aesthetics of Fallout. Like there's like the modern furniture pack. Like it just is like, no, that's way too clean for me. Not my jam. I'm a firm believer in keeping everything scrappy looking.
Yeah, I believe I picked that up with the initial free 100 points that they gave me. It was on special, and yeah, I tried it. It looks nice, but it doesn't fit any of my settlements. So I tend to come back to using either vanilla or DLC furniture.
Yeah.
I do like some of the hidden Sim Settlements furniture, and for players, if you want to get it legitimately, you need to build the furniture store plot. I have one in my Mercer Safe House Sunshine Tidings plan. Hint, 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 hint. It's a good spot to buy them from.
That furniture was all that was designed. Some of it was designed by one of our concept artists, Daniel. I don't know how to say his last name. Daniel Churn, or maybe that was his username was Churn G, something like that. And then Zero Big Sis, one of our 3D modelers, put all that furniture, turned it into reality, and so we put that into the furniture store. And now, from what I understand, is Tanuvia and another person, I'm going to butcher their name, Murmurakne, have added quite the load of furniture in Wasteland Ventures that you can purchase from it.
They have, and I immediately unlocked all of those in my unlocking mod. I have actually been using some of their furniture too. I just finished a hippie retreat city plan for Lakeside Cabin, and it uses quite a lot of their furniture and their Wasteland Ventures plots.
Okay.
With that, I use their all-in-one version because, it's got both the nice vanilla style ones as well as some of their more whimsical items, and I don't really want to waste 2 ESP slots on that.
Sure.
Considering I've got almost every single add-on released installed.
Which there's a lot of.
Almost everyone. There are. Unfortunately, some of the authors have disappeared, and it's been a while since their plots were updated. So there's JT Bryant's stuff, which I don't use anymore because it's been a long, long time since any of those have been updated.
Yeah, his are a bummer to lose because he was one of the first people to get into Marshall plots, and he's got some very interesting designs. But there's a couple of them that I know he never figured out all of the code for, and they're kind of messed up. And we have not been able to get in touch with him about getting his designs into a mega pack, because I'd be happy to fix all that stuff for him. But so JT, if you're listening or if somebody knows him, get in touch with him. We would love to resurrect his buildings and get them up to the current code base.
That would be wonderful to get them into the mega pack. Actually, that's one of the things I do like. The mega packs are really, really nice, nice add-on pack for city design. It's one of the ones I tend to use a lot.
We're hoping to get another one out this year. We've got a lot of people, a lot of the add-on pack authors have like actually reached out to me before we even had to ask and said like, hey, I'm probably going to go away from Fallout 4 for a while. If you ever do another mega pack, you have my permission to use your stuff. So So hopefully we'll get
Oh,
another one out soon, and you guys will have a giant pile to pick from, because I know the number of people I have permission from is way more than the first time. So hopefully,
oh, nice.
so it might be a bigger. I don't know if it'll end up being a bigger add-on or not. I haven't added up all the things, but that's definitely something we want to do more of, the mega pack. I think it's great for people who just aren't sure where to start, because if you go to that sim settlements category, it's pretty overwhelming right now. Like, there's a lot of stuff there.
It is, and if you pick on city plans, it's basically all me.
It's your own personal category. We should just rename it the Yagisan category.
That would be nice, but I think with my future releases, what's likely to happen is I've got what's going to be my own little mega pack in production where I'm adding plans that I'm happy with. I've got two, one for vanilla and DLC settlements, and the other one for mod added settlements.
Okay.
And instead of having, what do I got now, 26 pages to maintain and update, I'll only have two.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm getting a little bit tired of answering the same question 26 times.
Right. Yeah. Are you gonna get one of those faux mod installers set up and everything? Because if you want a template, you can steal the one out of the contest entries.
I'm an incredibly lazy person who just puts all of the ESL files into one 7-zip file and says, "Here you go.
Oh yeah, there you
You've
go.
got all of them."
Sure.
Yeah, good. What's it? Script limit? 64 megabytes? Yeah. Get rid of a few of the other mods from other authors that you don't need.
Although the city plans are a lot tighter than they were. Like, and I know that was one of the times we were talking about where you had to run them through the conversion because we found a way to reduce the data footprint. So
Yes.
far, like the city plan contest entries mod, I want to say it has 32 plans in it, and those only take up like 7.5 megabytes total. So they're pretty streamlined now. And almost no other mod uses script data like city plans do. Like, they are a unique beast in the amount of script data they're using. So it's hopefully not a problem for anybody yet. Of like, I mean, I bet if you were to take every one of the city plans in existence right now and install them at once, you could probably hit the limit. But
Well, I do intend to make at least one, probably two plans for all the vanilla and DLC settlements.
Awesome.
And then I have my mod added settlements, so I will get quite a lot. So yeah, I'm sure I can find some way to hit that limit for you.
Well, and we've got, of course, time is in your favor in that mission, because the longer we go, the more of them will exist and make that a little easier. But hopefully, at some point, I'll find a new way to do it, and we'll get past that limit. Because I don't like limitations. like I will spend dozens of hours coding to come up with a way to bypass limits. So eventually, if it comes up again to where it's preventing us from doing something, I'll find a way to crack it, even if it means I've got to learn some hex editing and reverse engineer some code.
Luckily for me, I have everything sitting in my GitHub, so it's simply a matter of grabbing all the original exports and rerunning them through whatever the new tool is.
Yeah, that's very nice that you got that all organized. I don't think we're that organized with the ROTC stuff. We have all the save files available, but because of all the people who've worked on it, there's probably it's likely that we would use the wrong version at some point, and what a mess. But
well, it can't be any worse than 76, and
I mean that's the pass I keep getting. So like every time there's a bug, I'm like, it's still less buggy than 76. I'm like, all right, well, thanks, but I don't like that as a baseline of comparison. I'd like to be doing better.
Well, we are doing better. we are doing better. I wanted to like 76, but the most fun I've had in there is being able to chat to Coots or Froggy or Ms. Ray, and but actually building in there, it's just not as fun as building up a city plan in Fallout 4.
Yeah, I wonder why they put so many limitations on the building in there, because there's a strange amount of like just arbitrary points, way worse than Fallout 4, where it'll just tell you can't do something. It's like, why? Who cares if it's gonna look all floaty? Because they found ways around it anyway. So like initially I thought it was, they want to keep everything looking somewhat realistic. Like, I get that, I guess, but then people just figured out how you can creatively use stairs to make these big floaty structures anyway.
Yep, yes. We got the stairs, and I built myself a wonderful floating tower, and we went to blueprint it and move it, and it crashed on me.
Oh.
So I tried it again, and it crashed on me. A few patches later, I tried it again, pulled out my blueprint. I only got half of my settlement, my camp. And at that point, because I have to run around looking for plans to actually build stuff,
Yeah.
it it became less interesting.
Well, one of the
Uh,
things I anticipate right away happening when they go to private servers is that they'll like one of the options you'll have in the because what I'm envisioning their private servers are going to be like you get to download mods from Bethesda.net and you get like a host of options on your server, and I'm betting one of the options will be free build mode where you can just get all the plans unlocked and build as much as you want and break your game. That's what I anticipate they'll do with it, because I could see like community Minecraft style building being one of the funner parts of 76 with the private servers.
uh, I'd hope so, but given the focus on the Atom store, I see them not wanting to do that, not to kill off their sacred cash cow.
Well, they've said they're
Uh,
going to do private servers, and that the thing is like a private server could generate monthly income. Like, they could probably charge $10 a month for access to a private server, and people would pay it. Like, I'd probably buy one just to try it out for a little while. So, like, that's more money than they're getting from me for the Atom Store, because I won't spend a dime on something like that.
I haven't seen anything in there I like.
But
That's
even if they did have stuff you like look at the prices on there. It's outrageous. Like some of like they were selling at Christmas, it was like 12 or 17 or some crazy amount of dollars for just changing the emote icons so that they had
yes,
Christmas hats. I was like, that's nuts. Like that's you
yes,
you charge them $12 for a JPEG? Like what?
yeah, yeah. That was interesting. It's like, $12 for JPEG. Oh, look at my Steam wish list. Wow, I can get an entire game for that.
Right.
Ooh, that's a
Yeah.
really hard choice. Steam, let's show me what you've got on my wish list.
And
Now,
that's one of those things when they have those kinds of prices, and like some of the games get a pass for it now. Like what's that new Apex Legends has got stuff like that where it's like $20 for a weapon skin. I don't know. I don't understand who. Like the only thing I can think they're trying to do there is they're getting that. Some people will say they're going after the whales. I don't think that's what it is. I think they're going after kids, which is really kind of messed
yeah,
up. Because like and the reason I believe this is because I've got a bunch of young nephews and nieces, and they are always going nuts for Fortnite skins, and like they don't have any concept of money. They have no concept of the value. They're just like, I want that thing, and like they'll ask for that as like birthday presents and stuff. So then whatever it costs, their parents will be like, all right, whatever, that's instead of a toy. So to me, that's kind of where that stuff's aiming at. Even though we like to, I think those of us who are a little older who play games are just like, we always think about what do I want and like what's that for me. But we're not the target audience anymore. They're going after that.
no,
That.
they're targeting kids.
Yeah, and so like those, and that's kind of disturbing.
Yeah, when my kids were younger, the concept of money was difficult for them. But as they're getting older, they're realizing that yes, in fact, things do cost money. Dad has to work for that, and that means Dad has to get more customers.
Right.
So, yeah. If for those of you who don't know, I living in Japan, and I have my own company. I now work in the education industry. I actually own and run my own English school. So it generates an enormous amount of stress because I'm responsible for paying staff, getting customers, etc. And well, when I'm stressed, I get creative. So if you see a whole bunch of city plans suddenly arrive from me, I had a really bad week at work.
Oh, that's a little sad, but also exciting for the community to get all those city plans when you have a bad week.
Well,
Are you native to Japan, or did you move there?
no, I'm not. I'm an Aussie in Japan, and I've been here for 8 years now.
Oh, cool. How's that been for running a business? I would like to, from the perception I have, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but is that Japan is very Japanese centric. Like they're very much like their own culture. Do they give you a hard time as being an outsider running business there, or is it like a struggle for you at all?
My staff are constantly mistaken for the owner of the company.
Ah, okay.
I'm actually a fully incorporated company. What we call here a Godo Geisha. So for you Aussie listeners, it's proprietary limited, and for Americans, I believe you're an LLC.
Gotcha.
Would be the most similar style of company.
Okay.
most businesses here are started and run. If they are started, they're run by Japanese.
Right.
But there's not a strong culture of starting your own company here. Everybody wants to grow up and join one of the mega corporations.
Oh, that
So
you sound like you're describing a cyberpunk game.
isn't that Japan?
That's probably why
But
Tokyo is part of the inspiration for that aesthetic.
well, I'm not joking when I say they're mega corporations. They like Sony has their own bank. They've got their own games, electronics, and
They have their own bank? I've never heard that before.
yeah.
That's nuts.
Oh, yeah, they do. They do.
Wow.
I mean, hell, 7-Eleven has their own bank here.
Oh, man.
7-Eleven, the convenience store chain, is also part of the biggest supermarket chain and a banking group. And these corporations are huge. And here I am starting up my own small business. And everybody comes in and they all mistake my staff as the company owner.
Sure.
So that is always amusing. But yeah, running a company, particularly one in a foreign country where you are not exactly fluent in the language, is stressful.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. It's stressful. Yeah. It's stressful enough to run a company in your own country, like
which I've done.
Okay.
Which I've also done. Yeah. I hate working for other people.
Understandable. Other people can suck, especially when they're in charge of you.
Wow, I used to work in IT, and let's just say sometimes managers have unrealistic expectations of what is actually possible.
Oh yeah, I think that's what I've made my career on is teaching lay people what's possible with technology, because they will have one expectation, and I have to either tone it down or boost them up. I'm also always surprised now how many people will undersell themselves on what technology can do. Like where people will have these like real meek ideas of what their website can do, and I'm like, actually, it's way easier than that than you think now.
Oh yes. It's I find that for such a technologically advanced country, they really like to do things in pen, paper, fax over here. So, taking my business, for example, I do everything online.
Okay.
Everything. Enrollments, payments, credit card processing, all online. I built that entire system myself using my IT experience, my IT background. My competitors, you walk in and they pull out a piece of paper and a printed contract, and you sit down and you send cash to them in an envelope.
Oh, man.
Yes. So yeah, it's quite different for what was expected. So I still get to use my IT skill, but now I use it for myself.
Sure.
rather than for other companies.
You know, it sounds like you could make some money using it for your competitors too. Like, hey, let me give you a little assist here. I've already written some software. You can just pay me a little licensing fee.
No. My competitors are large companies that, for some reason, are allowed to skirt labor law and not pay their staff health insurance. Yet I actually do. All my staff are fully health insured and their taxes are correctly paid. So I have higher overheads.
Sure. Well, good for you for keeping up. It's kind of ironic because that's like very honorable of you, and that's another one I would, as an outsider, I would assume you would expect a lot of in Japanese culture. But again, this is all based on stereotypes only. I can't speak for. I've never even been to Japan, much less lived there.
It's business culture. It's business culture. If they can screw you, they will screw you.
Okay, so that's similar to America. That's not that I'm used to.
I sometimes wonder how much of it they did import from you guys, because they've taken to it really well.
We're actually having a reverse. We're having a reversal of that. There's now like the move now in business culture in America is to go the other way, and it's just assume like the customer is God, and then at least in a lot of industries, especially in retail, like Amazon's pushing that, and then they kind of screw over the supplier side, which is very interesting to see that twist happening.
I've had a few customers assume they were God. They're now permanently banned. I will never tolerate people being abusive to my staff, and so I've had to remove them.
You sound like an amazing boss, man. You're paying for health insurance, even if there's maybe ways to get around it. You stay on their side and against customers. That sounds pretty awesome, man.
Well, for the type of business I do, being English teachers, I need good staff,
Sure.
and that means I'll treat you right because I need you to make me money because, quite frankly, I need it badly, badly. But yeah, I'll treat you right as long as you do your job right. But if you start slacking off and trying to take advantage, well, yeah, 28 days later you'll be gone.
Sure.
So if I pay and treat my staff well, I should get a better quality staff member than my competitors. At least that's the theory that's been working out so far.
Right. That's all you can do, though. Run on what's working for you so far.
Yeah, but being a foreign-owned business, let's just say that it's really difficult to get things like bank loans, etc.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Can you get them from banks back home at all, or do they probably don't want to invest in foreign country?
No.
Yeah.
No. Everything that I'm doing has been funded out of my savings, so I kind of need to make it successful.
Sure. Well, I'm glad we can provide an outlet for you for when you have that creative stress in creating the city plans.
It's helpful.
Yeah.
But due to the nature of my job, I actually don't sit in front of a PC during the day. I'm usually with customers, and so when I come home and I'm stressed, occasionally you'll see me live stream a build, and I've gotten it down to about 6 hours per settlement now.
Wow, that's impressive. Does that include with doing the levels, or is that just like your initial design?
That is 6 hours to make level 3 fully designed.
Right on.
And another 2 hours after that to strip it all the way back down to level 0. So I can
impressive.
pump out one settlement in 8 solid hours, which you occasionally see me do on a live stream.
Wow. Do you do that on Twitch?
I do, but you'll never hear commentary from me because if I'm live streaming, it's probably 1 o'clock in the morning here. So the mic is turned off.
Sure. Well, and even if the mic was turned on, it would have to be so quiet they wouldn't be able to hear you anyway.
Yeah, you'll see me do a raw build, so you will see me stuff it up repeatedly. So it's like, okay, he stuffed it up, Oh, wait, no, now he's built that stuff up into the design. That's excellent.
That sounds like a good design practice if you want to get them done that quickly. That's crazy that you can get them done that fast. If you go to the Donald Strong School of Building, it's more like 6 months. So 6 hours is impressive. No, we give him a hard time. He always we always joke with him. He's our one of our lead designers on Rise of the Commonwealth, and he will go back to a build over and over again. So we started making fun of him that if we assign him a new one to work on, it'd be 6 months later before we got it done.
Perfect is the enemy of good. Perfect is the enemy of good. That was week 1 network engineering.
Yeah. I'm always of the mindset that I can't remember the quote. I've heard this recently, but essentially if you can't release anything, it doesn't matter how good it is.
Yes.
So
yeah.
I'm pushing for I like to get things to a certain level of quality, and then it's just like, all right, we got to release it, because if we polish, if you go down to the smallest detail of perfectionism, you could literally work on the same thing for infinity and never ever release it, because there's nothing, it can take forever to get to perfection, which is what I think happens to a lot of those gigantic mods. I think they get gummed up in the perfection part, and then it's just like, never saw the light of day.
Yeah, which is kind of a shame. Once it's good enough, you can ship it, and depending on what the problem is, it can usually be patched later.
Yeah, I think that that's okay in the mod field. I think one of the problems, I had an argument with somebody recently about this, because occasionally we get some bugs in some settlements of about whether or not we should be releasing without spending more time testing. It's like, well, we don't have the resources to do it for infinite. And then the conversation evolved into how much should we expect from AAA game companies, and that's where I start to bend on it. Where it's just I think maybe one of the problems we're starting to see right now, and this is 76 is a huge example of this, is you see them doing essentially what modders or indie devs do, where you release it when you're 90% sure it's perfect, and then they're just like, all right, well, we'll have to fix bugs post-release. And like, I think that's okay if you're, a small scrappy team not making any money, but as soon as you're selling the thing for $60 a pop, I think you have some obligation to get it a little further polished.
76 cost a lot more than that.
Oh, I don't know what it costs
yeah.
elsewhere, but that's what it costs here, unless you're talking all the special editions and stuff.
Oh, I bought mine before it was actually released, but after the beta had started, and what did it set me back? I got to convert from yen to US dollars to. Yeah, it set me back the equivalent of about 100 US.
Wow. Yeah, that's like
And
that's more than that's almost as much as like that fancy Power Armor edition cost. I think that was 150 or something.
so yeah, to be perfectly frank, that was a shit purchase. Okay. For the amount of money that was spent after conversion, it was a shit purchase.
Yeah,
And
that's really unfortunate.
which is why I feel justified in vocally saying uh, they didn't release the game that they sold to me.
Sure. Well, I think that's why there's that lawsuit now against them for I don't know if it's for fraud or what they're calling it, but there's a class action suit against them about basically misadvertising.
Well, they did misadvertise it, but the class action suit, the only people who are getting any money out of this will be the lawyers.
Right. Yeah. It's more about sending a message than actually anybody getting money, because the people who are even involved in it, they're going to end up spending more money than the money they spend on the damn game, just to make the action happen. So even if they were to recoup what they claim would be the $60, like that's, then you're out the legal fees. So it's really about sending a message to the games industry, I think, which is probably necessary, because there's like they're not the only ones that do this. I think they're just they're just one of the most egregious ones recently, and they're close to us because we are all Bethesda game addicts, so like seeing them do it is like shameful. But I think it's a common move happening. It happens a lot in the game industry of like the games getting released at what essentially feels like an alpha state, and it's like I get where the trend to me seemed to start with all of these games doing like Fortnite and PUBG both did it, where they were like it's the pre-release thing. It's that thing Steam started where you can kind of like the early access. That's what I'm looking for. The word I'm looking for. The early access thing, where it almost gave game companies permission to just like take their game, sell it full price, and label it as early access, and it gives them a free pass to not have to bug fix, and then they essentially get free alpha testing out of the community.
Yeah, I've never actually played Fortnite or PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. It's not really the type of game that grabs my interest. And,
yeah, I've only tried them out of curiosity to see why they're so damn popular, and they're not my jam either. But they represent, like, those are the two of the biggest games, period, right now, and like they both did that, of both released as early. In fact, I think Fortnite is still considered early access to this day, even though it's the most popular game on the planet.
Wonderful. So something that rakes in that much money is apparently early access. Wonderful.
Yeah, so not good times for gamers. So you've got that nonsense going on, and then you've got the microtransaction aggressiveness. It's just like, it just feels like the industry's gotten pretty shady lately, which is, it's reminding me of the old shareware days when people were dumping out garbage games to cash in on different licenses.
Yeah, or we get those season passes that don't actually tell you what you're actually buying.
Right.
It's like, yeah, buy this season pass for your favorite game. Well, what's in it? Oh, we'll tell you in 3 to 6 months. yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah, and I'm one of those suckers that just buys those automatically generally, even though that's just really dumb, especially because I don't know if I'll be into the game. I've stopped doing it for every game now. I tend to only do it for games that, like, companies I really like Bethesda. Maybe I won't do it now after 76, but like I had been previously. Like, I bought it for Fallout 4 immediately because I'm like, well, I'd love Fallout 4 or Fallout so much. There's no way I'm not going to download all their DLC. But maybe that's a bad plan.
I did buy it for Fallout 4, but I didn't buy it immediately. I actually waited to see what was planned, and Automatron I really liked.
I
Far
think Aut-
Harbor's not too bad.
I think Automatron is like way like it doesn't get enough credit for what it adds, especially like the amount of code work they did to make the robots, the customizable robots. That's incredible. Like if that were
I
a mod,
love
it would
those
be one
robots.
of the top mods ever created for it because it's so impressive under the hood. But like people are like, oh, it might be worth $5. It's like, are you kidding me? That's so cool.
It's
That's such an amazing piece of content, and you get a little
it's
story with it too.
wonderful.
Yeah.
It's wonderful, and Ada is the best companion because Ada never complains when I'm literally strip mining the Commonwealth to build my city plans. It's like, oh, hey, you got some junk here. I got some more junk for you. Here,
Right. Yeah.
keep
She gives
building.
you more. Yeah.
Yeah, I love her. She's the best. She's the best companion. She's the one who wants to help me build those city plans. And everyone else is, you could leave that junk there. Yeah, right. You're gonna be marked as city leader and sent to Murkwater.
Yeah, I'm really glad the city leader feature I really like. I think that came out really good of just putting to use, especially for all the companions where you're just like, I hate this person and I don't know what I'm going to do with them. It's like, there you go. There's a use for them.
I actually do like that city leader feature, but considering how many plans I've got and the fact I don't like moving them,
Right.
I had to go and get a few off the Nexus to give me enough city leaders.
Right. Well, and that's why I eventually caved and made it disableable. So it's funny. The city leader feature originally was designed to prevent players from breaking their own games. So when we released Rise of the Commonwealth at first, the game would get very unstable if you had too many city plans running at once. So I needed to come up I didn't want to do an arbitrary cap because I wasn't really sure how many it could handle. So I had the city leader idea floating around in my head. So I was like, well, let's use that as our cap. Like then an early game, people won't be able to bug their saves out. And then it ended up being a requirement. And now because you can start city plans anyway, I was like, well, all right, well, we've broken free of the city leader requirement for that. So I just made it an option in general. So now people can just turn off city leader requirement. And then the city leader feature is still available. So you can still gain the perks and stuff if you turn that off. But the default options do leave it on because I think it's a fun limiting factor. And it also encourages you to actually go play some of the rest of the game.
I do like the city leader feature. When I've built my plans, I expect someone's going to be assigned as a city leader.
So when you do your bed counts and stuff, that's part of the count.
Yeah. I always count the city planner's desk, whichever one I've used as one of the jobs that's going to be in there. So
Sure.
I'm expecting you're going to use this, and considering how many plans I've got, I don't really recommend that you build all of them at the same time.
Yeah, it can definitely lead to a pretty unstable game if you have too many and not just, it doesn't even matter if they're city plans or not, but just having too many settlements fully built up can definitely lead to some instability.
Somewhat, yes. Yeah. The game does have some limits, which
Right.
I gleefully push with my city plans. But yeah, I do like the leader feature, and there's three packs that I tend to use a lot. I got Ganon's Trove, but he has retired now.
He might come back.
And I hope so, but as it is, the city leader pack works great with the mod added companions that I use it for.
Okay.
And I've got the Settlers of the Commonwealth pack, and actually, a very good idea would be to have a look and identify the exact one, because there's a few of them.
Those are two of the bigger ones, I think. I think each of those adds a fair number.
I've got the one that was done by, I'm going to butcher this name, Rylassin.
Okay.
Yeah, Ultimate Coffee and Rylassin's Settlers of the Commonwealth one.
Okay.
And Lawbringer 55's leader pack. So between them, there's nearly 100 possible leaders.
Wow, I didn't know there were that many available. That's awesome.
Which fits nicely at the 128 maximum settlements that I believe I can actually fit.
Now, how many settlements have you found so far? How many usable third-party settlement mods have you found? Because I know there's a handful out there that are kind of wonky and broken, or that come pre-built with like a whole bunch. Like I think there's one guy out there who releases them with like they're all fully built already, and then it's almost not like a settlement mod. But how many have you found so far that are good for this process?
Okay. Well, I already mentioned earlier the the Red Rocket settlements and Lakeside Cabin that I updated from Tarsus 31.
Okay.
They work. The link is on the GitHub page. Praz, Fairline Hills, Eden Meadows, Lekmis Station, and his Fensway Station update, they all work quite well. Northern Exposure mostly works, but needs to be cleaned with Fallout 4 Edit. The Roadside Pines Motel by Niher also mostly works. Again, should be cleaned with Fallout 4 Edit.
Oh, I think as soon, Niher is a listener. I'm sure as soon as he hears that, he's going to want to go fix it.
It immediately pops up as soon as you leave Vault 111, so you will gain that settlement immediately.
That's odd.
I will be coming back to that to remake a new plan on there. My earlier plans used mods, and the newer ones stick to DLC plus Project Blueprint and the occasional decorative Creative Club item. Coffee. Did I mention coffee?
I'm with you on pro coffee. Love me. I've got a permanent cup somewhere around me at all times. In fact, I've got 2 empty ones right now that need to be taken care of after we finish here.
Well, I'm looking at the half-empty cup and I'm thinking to myself, I could get a new one. The Creation Club, New Cafeola Full Settlement, and Charlestown Condo Full Settlement both work quite well, and the Homeplate Settlement. Those are by, and I'm going to have to pull this up because I'll butcher the name.
So this is a good stuff. I think you've named like 16 or 17 already. So there's a fair. So you're so I think
Omnipajumaki.
Omnipajumaki. Oh, that's the person who made that. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's about between those that you've just named and the vanilla and DLC ones. That's like over 50. So you're like halfway to filling up that that array.
Oh, absolutely. You don't find me on the Nexus as Yagisan. Unfortunately, that name was taken. So if you're looking for me on the Nexus, I am called Yagi-chan, which is the much, much cuter, childish way of saying Yagi-san.
Okay. So what does Yagi-san mean then?
Yagi-san. This is the wonderful nickname my then girlfriend and now wife gave me when she first met me. Yagi-san means Mr. Goat.
Mr. Goat.
Mr. Goat.
So what?
Because I'm very stubborn, and if I don't shave, the very first place my beard starts growing in is on my chin like a goatee. And she basically said I look like a goat, which is wonderful.
Oh, that's a nice thing to hear from your girl. So what does Yagi-chan then mean? The cute version? Is that like we would say kid, like the little goat?
Yeah, the chan is usually used for children instead of san.
Okay.
So it's kind of like little child goat.
Okay. Little baby goat.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's Mr. Goat, but Mr. Goat is a child.
Okay. Oh, that's funny.
So yeah, that's the Nexus Nick. But the funny thing is that most people actually call me Yagi-san in real life.
Oh, okay.
If you're calling me by my legal name, you probably work for the government and you probably hear about tax.
That's pretty funny.
So yeah, my wife calls me Yagi-san. A bunch of my students call me Yagi-san. My kids, when they don't want something, call me Yagi-san. When they want something, I'm Dad.
That sounds like an awesome nickname for an old man. Like when you're an old timer running your business still, and it's like, oh, we got to go over to the English school and talk to the goat.
Hopefully, I make enough money that I can actually retire, because it's kind of my retirement plan.
Okay. So you don't want to be working for life, like own your business till you die.
No.
I'm not sure where I stand on that. Some days I feel like retirement would be nice. Other times I'm like, you know what? When I've got a good, like when I have a good work quarter, I'm just like I'm feeling on fire because I too do a lot of my own business, so it can be very rewarding but also very stressful. So like sometimes when I'm doing good, I'm just like, yes, this is the best part of life. Like I can't wait to do this forever. And then other times it's like, oh, vacationing forever down in somewhere tropical sounds good right now.
I like my job, which is one of the reasons I do it. But do I want to do it forever? No, no. I would actually like to retire, and I don't actually believe either my home country government or the Japanese authorities when they promise me that the money I've been spending on my pension plan will actually result in a pension when I retire. Particularly the Japanese government, because there's not enough children being born to pay taxes to actually pay a pension.
Right.
Our population here is shrinking, so every time they take the mandatory pension payments off me for all my staff, I basically have to consider that a tax because how old am I now? Yeah, I should be retiring in 20, 25 years,
Okay.
and I don't think there will be any pension for me. So the goal is to build up a sizable nest egg with a business so I can actually retire.
Yeah.
It would be nice to spend time with the missus and the kids and not have to work most of the week.
Sure. I can see that.
Uh,
I guess
your
I
kids.
just look at
Oh,
the well I just look at the like the pattern, my parents went through, and like the retire by the time they retired, it was like, all right, well, all of us are already out in the world and we have families and stuff, so like then wasn't spending time with the kids in that regard anymore. Then it was like, and they live in different places, so then their retirement was like they could see the grandkids once in a while, and it's like, well, they're already like that was already the case even when you were working. So when I look at that pattern, I'm like, well, I might as well have the job to keep me busy. But I guess my retirement might be, hey, I full-time mod now, that's my new job. So
well,
maybe one day we'll see you making city plans 40 hours a week. It'll be
that sounds suspiciously like a job.
but it's a
Ah,
fun job.
it is until you get creatively burned out.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a
And
concern.
yeah, it is. So to avoid burnout, I occasionally do switch gears and switch to one of my other games. Confession time, I've never actually bothered to play Fallout 3 or New Vegas.
Oh
So
really?
Fallout, I own them, but I've played as far to the end of the vault in Fallout 3. Yeah, that's right. I got as far as to the exit of the vault, which is the introduction tutorial. And I started up New Vegas. Started it. Yeah. I got
I think
shot in the head in the intro, and that was yeah, okay. I'll get back to it one day.
I could
One
see
day, maybe.
Fallout 3 being a struggle to play now. I don't know if I could go back and play that just because the gameplay mechanics, like, they're very wonky compared to Fallout 4, especially the shooting. And then like the story was interesting and all, but it wasn't enough of a drawer for me to go back to it, and I really hated parts of the downtown and the green aesthetic. So there were certain things about Fallout 3 that kind of drove me nuts. New Vegas, though, is like I'm one of those that has that's got a special place in my heart just because of their quest design, because they're so non-linear. Like there's so many different ways you can approach completing all the quests. So like whenever I think of New Vegas, like we're starting up a new character, it gets me hyped up to try to get through and try different ways to complete some quests. But yeah, I could see Fallout 3 being a tough one to go through.
Yeah, everyone keeps telling me New Vegas is great, but I actually have to push myself to get through the intro. Uh, for role-playing games, the type of games I tend to enjoy are more things like Pillars of Eternity, Shadowrun.
So
I
you
tend to go for the more isometric
right?
party
Okay.
style.
Okay.
Uh, I basically came to Fallout 4 from Skyrim,
Sure.
and I do enjoy Skyrim. It's fun to run around and kill everything that moves. Although I'm not entirely sure that's what I'm supposed to be doing, or some sort of dragon that needs to be killed, but the main quest doesn't proceed unless I decide to make it proceed.
Right.
No sense of urgency, so yeah, Alduin, yeah, you can stay there, dude.
That's actually kind of I had this conversation with a couple of people recently about that might be one of the better design decisions that Skyrim does, and why it's so infinitely replayable, is they don't jam the main quest down your throat, and so you really get to feel like it's an open world sandbox in that. Not just in the sense of like GTA is this open world sandbox where you can do whatever you want, but more in the sense that like you can develop your character however you want, because they kind of not only give you a blank slate, but also don't force you to deal with certain elements. Like it's very, like after your first playthrough, very distinctly what you have to avoid to do in order to keep the main quest locked down. Whereas in Fallout 4, for example, you wake up and it's just like smashing you over the face with it over and over again. Like every character you talk to, you're like, Sean! And you can't avoid it.
Yeah, Fallout 4 really pushes you to run to that meeting. Everybody's played it by now, so yes, spoilers are
Spoiler alert. Yeah.
It really pushes you into that confrontation with Kellogg. So the first time I played it, I rushed because you've got to find your son. Okay, well, me and Dogmeat turned up and got our asses handed to us. The second time we went through, I met Father. The first time. I didn't know who Father was.
Right.
So Father got a double-barrel shotgun to the face before he even finished speaking. And then the entire Institute aggroed on me, and I discovered, you're supposed to listen to the old man.
That's
I don't
funny.
care about the old man. Sean, look, Sean. Boom.
Like, I'm going to rescue him. I'm just going to get rid of this idiot. That's funny.
So I'm not supposed to role play this as a frantic father who will kneecap, shoot, and basically kill anyone between him and his son.
Right.
I'm supposed to listen to the dialogue. And then we meet Sean, and Sean's an absolute bastard, and I'm thinking to myself, why? Why did I look for this kid? There was Piper, there was Curie, there was even Kate. Either one of them, any of them could have made a better child than Sean.
So it probably it would have worked out better for your own personal narrative of your character to let that playthrough stand where you just shot Father in the face, because then you never get to find out that kid isn't your kid. And you're like, all right, I succeeded. I did it.
Well, you'll eventually get a synth Sean unless you go full Brotherhood and leave him to die.
True.
And I don't know. Is that better? Is that worse? Is a synth human?
I don't know. That always felt really awkward. That you just get this synth kid that you have no connection to, because like you wouldn't even know. Like you lose the kid as a baby, so you wouldn't even you wouldn't see that kid and like bond to it and think like that's my kid. Like you wouldn't even have that. So it's literally just like once you find out it's a robot, you're just like, now I'm just keeping a robot with me. Like this is calls me dad.
But is it a robot?
True.
Is the robot
right? That was supposed to be the moral gray that we were supposed to feel. Yeah. That never really clicked for me, but because it's like, well, they're machine made. Yeah, and I guess that's what you're supposed to think about is if they're made flesh and bone, and like literally all they are is they're made up of the exact same pieces as we are they not human? Just because they weren't born from a womb, they were made out of a machine.
Yeah, well, I tend to lean on the side that they are definitely sapient, so they are very likely, while not necessarily human, they're definitely alive and possessing of free will. So yeah, okay, the Toaster Liberation Front, Railroad, is probably doing the right thing.
Sure.
Look at Dance. Dance, one of my favorite characters. I like Dance, even though he is, well, he lives for the Brotherhood.
Yeah.
That is the entire thing he does, but he seems so earnest and fully believing he's doing the right thing, and he's a toaster.
Right.
He's a toaster, and he is one of the more human characters you'll meet in the game.
Yeah. It's that's probably what they wanted, was us to have these discussions and talk about whether or not they were. I found that I wasn't sold enough on it in that regard, but I frequently come back to like conversations with people knocking on Fallout 4, which is funny because obviously I absolutely love the game. I wouldn't spend like every free hour I have on working on it if it wasn't for a game. If it wasn't a game I loved, it's just I think the closer I get to it, the easier it is for me to like poke holes in some of the stuff they did.
Well, yeah. Far Harbor, they tried to make that morally grey, and let's be honest, Dima should be deactivated. But
I think that's praised by most people as like that was one of the better stories they've ever told,
yeah,
like Bethesda's ever told.
well, he should be deactivated because he's doing some terribly morally wrong things. But on the other hand, by doing those morally wrong things, he is preventing two different groups from killing each other.
Right. Well, it was almost like there was no good guy choice in that. Like everything is every choice you have is a little messed up. So it's like, how messed up do you want to be?
Oh, hmm. How messed up can we be? We can kill all of them.
Right.
I don't recommend that. It's not the solution I'd choose. I mean, I'd run with Dima's Lie.
All right, so
On the
I
other-
wanted to ask you something. If we can back up a little bit to the Institute before we go into Far Harbor, have you thought about making a settlement out of the Institute?
I have, but it's not something I feel I can put above ground. It's one of the ones that I'm looking for an internal settlement.
Right, that's what I was
because
thinking.
Their aesthetic, it doesn't fit above ground.
No, not at all. But it would be a good place for all that modern furniture from the CC.
Potentially, yes. I mean, the Creation Club had a Muir penthouse, which was allegedly the location for their Corsair.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in the same building they do the Captain Cosmos quest, which was far more interesting. But even then, it still doesn't feel it fits above ground. We have someone. Oh, what's their name? I've forgotten their name. They've got the Institute pack.
I know who you're. Oh yeah, one of the add-on packs is Institute.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who did that one as well.
Institutes. That's okay. I'm going through my Vortex list while I'm looking at this.
Yeah, I just tweeted that out a few weeks ago too. I can't remember the username because it's coming to my head. I want to say Captain Laserbeam, but is that
no?
Oh, he's the, or did he do the jam pads?
Yeah. Okay. Argyle.
Okay.
Mr. Trust.
Yeah, Mr. Trust. Yeah, there it is. Okay.
Mr.
There's been quite a few of them coming out lately, which is exciting.
Yeah.
I love seeing new add-on packs because there's the year one we had crazy amounts and then it slowed down and now it's starting to pick up again, which is exciting.
Yeah. I hid one of his Institute residential plots inside of one of Tinuvia's gaslight concoctions.
Okay.
So everybody goes into the settlement, and it looks like you've got a lovely normal chemist. But if you go upstairs, you'll find that it's someone from the Institute. So do you really trust the medication you're getting?
Right. Well, I would think I'd trust it more. It's probably a lot better.
Yeah, except for the fact that they have their FEV lab in the Institute, and you're
true.
probably a guinea pig.
That's fine. Life seems exciting as a super mutant, especially if it's like Virgil. You can still be sentient and super strong.
He appears to be losing his intelligence, which is likely to occur if you don't actually cure him.
That's true. That could be an interesting storyline to continue.
What's the one that's... There's one in Far Harbor that sells you dogs, and that's the most intelligent super mutant in Fallout 4.
Oh, I don't think I've ever run into him.
Well, was it Erickson or something like that? But there's one in Far Harbor, and he sells you dogs for your settlements.
Okay.
That is the friendliest, most intelligent super mutant you're going to run into because, yeah, strong. Strong is...
Big dumb animal. He's awesome.
Yes, he is big and dumb.
I love the talking super mutant characters. I always get a kick out of those. Like the what's her name? I'm trying to remember the one from... You wouldn't know this. You haven't played New Vegas, but anyway, there was one of them that was like schizophrenic, and she had two personalities. It was amazing. Love those characters. They're always a trip.
Fallout 3 and New Vegas have been out for so long now that you don't have to worry about spoilers.
Right. I'm not talking about spoilers. I was just like, you wouldn't get if I'm getting nostalgia on it, you wouldn't be able to follow me on that. But anyway, there's some great talking super mutant characters in all the Fallout games.
Oh, there certainly are. But yeah, Institute, very difficult for me to place above ground. So
yeah, I would think you would almost have, because you can do interior settlements. Like you'd have to.
Yes.
Yeah, it would almost be just like take a section of or just take the whole damn thing and just turn it into a settlement of the whole interior. Like it would be, there's probably a lot of space that would be awkward to build with, but I bet there's enough areas in there that aren't really being used effectively, like in the story where there's not a bunch of markers you have to worry about, where essentially somebody could take a chunk of it and just be like, here you go, there's a nice buildable area.
Well, potentially. Yeah, I think Whisper's got what he calls a power armor basement that I've got an eye on that's built underneath home plate. So that's a potential location for perhaps an institute base in the middle of Diamond City.
Oh, there you go.
Just to help ramp up that paranoia about simps.
They've just got an entire under level that's the same size as Diamond City under there. Just full institute.
It looks like that from the screenshots. I haven't actually had a chance to play with it, but that's a possible location, assuming that the benches are all exterior benches.
There's that always reminds me of I never noticed this until when I was filming a video recently and I needed footage of me blowing up the Institute. And I never noticed this until then, is that the Institute and Diamond City are facing each other right across the river. Like they're right there.
Yes, they are.
Which is actually, to me, it felt like, it would have been an amazing decision if at some point the story navigated it to the point where you had to choose between them. Like either you blow up Diamond City or you blow up the Institute. I thought that would have been way cooler, given the fact that visual works out so well, of being like the fact that they're facing each other like enemies. And unfortunately that never becomes a thing, but could have been pretty cool.
Well, following the main story, Diamond City already lost because the Institute's replaced the mayor.
Right. They're already screwed.
The Institute's already running Diamond City.
Yeah. Yeah, so no reason to take them out.
Yeah. Now, Good Neighbor, on the other hand. Good Neighbor is not run by the Institute.
Right.
With Hancock.
Yeah, that was weird to me that he the mayor comes with you. Like that seems like a weird person to be a companion.
It is, especially because once I take him, I can't send him back.
Right.
It's like, dude, shouldn't you be running Good Neighbor? So, anyone who's listening, if you've got a full settlement mod for Good Neighbor that works, so I can send Hancock back and maybe build a city plan there, I'd really appreciate that.
Oh, that would be interesting, because somebody did that for Diamond City, didn't they? Isn't there a Diamond City settlement mod?
I believe there is. I think Taxi Vader has done that. But for my own playthrough, I've got the Diamond City expanded one that you did.
Yeah.
You interviewed Statsmacken.
Yeah, I love that mod. He did such an amazing job in there. The place is beautiful.
I've got that for my own playthrough, and I've got a home plate settlement, and Whisper's power armor one will be added.
Yeah, it always seems weird to I always found it weird to build in Bunker Hill, to be like, this is already a fully established settlement. It looks pretty good. Like why am I building in here? So like when I saw Diamond City settlements, always just felt weird to me.
Bunker Hill's problematic. It's small.
Yeah.
It's already built. And the only reason you get that is because you get involved in a freeway light show between the railroad, the Bunker Hill caravans, and the Brotherhood. And I do mean a light show because I've actually left the game running in the middle of their big battle, gone and had dinner and come back, and I'm still alive.
Right. It just keeps going. It's scripted to just until you finish it, it just keeps going, which is pretty fun to watch. Like I remember the first time I played that, I was like, this is really cool. I wish they would do more of this in the game.
It looks cool, but nobody was shooting at me. I mean,
right. You're just a bystander.
I was kind of, I don't want to be a bystander. If I've pissed off the railroad, I want them shooting at me. If I've pissed off the Brotherhood, I want them shooting at me. The Bunker Hill traders, I don't expect to be shooting at me unless I've tried unsuccessfully to execute Trash Can Carla. It's mostly her Brahmin, but I made a mod to get rid of that. So
did you replace it with a robot, or she just?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yep. So I do like that, but for some reason the game doesn't always spawn my robots in. It makes them invisible, and you have to disable and re-enable the character, and that bugs me because there's nothing wrong with the mod.
Mm-hmm.
It fully matches the records as they should be. So on a new game, It completely replaces the existing Brahmin record. It should load up. 9 times out of 10 it does, and on the 10th time you got an invisible robot that goes, "Hello, sir. How are you today?"
Ah,
Like, yeah, okay, I can hear it.
right.
Okay, which one are you? Okay, console, type in enable, PRID, console ID, disable, enable, and then suddenly this robot appears right in front of you.
Huh. That's weird. So I can't. I couldn't even tell you where to begin looking at that. That's there's some weird bugs that come up once in a while.
Oh, it's well. Recently I found out why the engine wasn't removing scrap from some of the settlement mods I worked on.
Okay.
When I re-released the Red Rocket settlements in Lakeside Cabin, and I did it a while ago, I released it as an ESL file with the ESL extension, and I broke pre-combines. Okay, I gutted them. I gutted all the pre-combines out of the settlement
Okay.
because well, I practically scrapped every single bramble and a whole bunch of the small saplings. Okay, there was nothing left, so I gutted it. Load up in game, and it was all fine until a few Creation Club updates ago, and then suddenly all the brambles and crap came back. And it was bugging me, and I had to figure out why this happened. And apparently, if I have an ESL file, internally ESL, if the extension ends in .esp, it reads the pre-combined details. If it's marked as .esl, it ignores them.
Interesting.
Because I've already pushed it out to the Nexus and Bethesda.net, I had to release a patch file, which is basically just the removed pre-combined data as an ESL file ending in .esp.
Oh man.
Bethesda.net
That's
users,
wonky.
I'm sorry I have not pushed that out to you because it won't let me push out 2 files. I'd have to make a new mod for that, and even if I did, none of you are going to know it exists.
Right. Oh yeah, that's kind of a pain. I really wish they would let us have version control and subfiles on the mods
Oh,
the mod page. And
I
I
wish.
get why they didn't. They were trying to keep it simple for because and I appreciate that they tried to do this. They were trying to make this like a streamlined experience for people who haven't
Yeah,
modded before. And I think it worked. I
yeah,
think we get tons of people who have, you know what, I've never modded or I've never played with mods before, but I heard about Sim Settlements, I wanted to give it a try. And it's like a
yeah.
gateway. And like if it weren't for Bethesda.net, I don't think most people would try because it's intimidating to like download a third party launcher and then half the mods have a faux mod which you've got to then answer a wizard, and it's like this is a lot if I just want to try something real quick.
Yeah. I mean, I want to push a patch out, but that's just it. The only reason the patch exists is because something recently broke in the game.
Yeah.
And if they fix the engine, I don't need the patch.
Right. Yeah, they've definitely
Uh,
done a few things recently that have caused some issues I don't think that they're even aware of. Like
no, they're probably not.
there's one real weird one that happened after an update recently where when settlers go to use furniture, like they'll use a chair or they'll like use one of the markers where they're leaning on a counter, they'll get teleported like 6 feet away facing the wrong direction and still using that animation. It's very strange. I
Yes,
don't
yeah,
know
I've
why that
seen that.
happens. But that was
I've seen
like a
that.
patch a few months ago. Just all of a sudden it started happening, and like I thought it was just me. Like I was like, oh, I must have a bad mod combo or something. And then I started
No,
seeing
no.
it on people's streams and stuff, and where they're like, oh, but game bugged out. I was like, oh man, everybody's having this all of a sudden. This was definitely something they patched.
Yeah, I could reproduce that on a vanilla profile. So
Yeah.
yeah, something has gone wrong, and considering what happened with 76,
It's
it's
not
not too
shocking.
far for me to think that someone has applied their bug fix to the wrong Git branch.
Yeah, that's definitely probably a problem. I would also think that the doing something like the Creation Club stuff, like adding more content to a game that's as complicated as Fallout 4. Because I mean, let's be honest, these games are really complicated, especially like getting all those quests to interact with each other and all these different gameplay systems. Like you're opening up Pandora's box if you go back and edit anything in the default game, because then your essential last QA pass you did on it is no longer valid. So
Yes.
like that's got to be terrifying. I'm surprised they do it at all. That they like put stuff in the game world, in the base game, and like edit pre-combines or whatever they did that caused your thing to break.
I don't know what they did, but the same file, if it ends in .esl,
Yeah.
broken. If I rename it to say .esp, it works. Um,
I was wondering. I've seen you have that conversation with people in Discord. And I'm like, what is he talking about? Why would you need to do that? I never.
I
That's kind
don't
of
know,
funny.
but that is the actual fix. That's the actual fix.
But you leave it
I would
flagged as ESL, right? You just so
Yes,
it's still technically.
absolutely.
Does it count
It's
against the
still
mod
technically.
order, or does it count
Uh,
since it's an ESP? Does it count against the 254, or does it not?
no, it
Still,
counts against the ESL. The game seems to count it by the flag and the header.
huh? Okay, interesting.
So I have converted a lot of mods off the Nexus into ESL for my personal playthrough
Sure.
using the wonderful Fallout 4 editor
Mm-hmm.
by what's it, Elminster?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank God for him.
I do use that to convert them for my personal playthrough, and you'll find that if I actually release a mod that's not a city plan, I probably built the entire thing in Fallout 4 edit because the creation kit and I don't get along.
The creation
only time
kit is a beast. It is, and I think part of the problem is it's a resource hog. So unless you're on a pretty good machine, it's basically useless.
Yeah. If you see me turn it on, it's probably because I'm trying to upload something to Bethesda.net. It's such a painful process that I've been neglecting uploading there.
Oh, see, I think it's
Sorry.
a wonderful process. Like aside
Sorry,
like
Xbox users.
the Archive 2 thing, like the compiling textures for Xbox is a pain in the butt, but I wish the Nexus was as easy as Bethesda.net is to update, where I just load the plugin and hit upload. Like that would be fantastic. Like I don't want to go into a browser and mess with OFO mod files. Like let me just do it all from one program.
I wish it would let me upload that easily. It keeps trying to pack stuff into the mods.
Right. That's the thing
shouldn't
that's
be in
annoying.
there.
Yeah, you have to so I find if you use the if you open up with there's a tool called Archive 2 in the directory, and if you use that, you can just edit it like you're working on a zip file instead of dealing with that. And then you just close that stupid thing that comes up in the creation kit.
Yeah, but none of the mods I make use scripting or external assets. They're all record edits, so I don't need to attach something. So why are they insisting I need to do this?
Well, I mean, that's why that's one of the reasons there's so many buggy mods out there is first-time mod authors don't realize. They're just like, oh, I must need those. And it's like, no, those are vanilla files it's trying to put in there, which then means that anytime the game patches, your mod is overwriting those. And if you happen to have like opened some other mod, you'll overwrite their files. Yeah, it's a really bad system that they have there.
Yeah, and I can't use ESPs as masters in there, unlike other editing programs that let me patch other mods. So yeah, it's not as easy for me as just simply right-clicking the directory, selecting make 7-zip file, and then hitting upload on Nexus mods. But unlike you, I don't really release scripted mods or mods with enormous asset packs.
Sure.
I tried that in the past, and I've still got sitting on my hard drive the results of an overly ambitious Skyrim mod that dynamically works on the AI of your companions, where they would identify their target weakness and exploit it. It's overly ambitious. It worked quite well. The only problem is it used the papyrus system, and let's just say that Skyrim didn't really like it if you bashed the papyrus system on every single tick.
Yeah, papyrus was. I mean, that was one of the big improvements they did to Fallout 4. It's you can hammer papyrus pretty hard in Fallout 4. Like if it weren't for that, we would not have Sim settlements. But like you can do some damage with papyrus now.
Well, you certainly can, and I do very much enjoy my sim settlements, and I do enjoy my Conqueror plots. Although I haven't actually done a Conqueror playthrough, I don't really see myself as playing the bad guy or the raider. It's the one thing I hated most about Nuka World.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are in your boat, and we've got plans. We'll get that rectified so that people can play as the good guy at some point. But it's like it's a journey because there's a lot of mechanics. There's a lot of underlying mechanics there that we've got to prepare for.
Well, I'm the boss at work, so it's my day job to actually have to be the bad guy on occasion at work. So I don't really want to do that when I'm playing the games. I'd like to imagine that I'm in fact a nice person who doesn't have to yell or scream or escort somebody from the premises because they're being verbally abusive to a staff member.
Sure.
It doesn't happen very often, but occasionally we do get people who think that the customer is God, and if they're offering me a admittedly very small amount of money, that they can behave in a way that would make their parents ashamed of them.
Yeah.
But it happens.
That's like the real life equivalent of the internet. Like people go on
Yeah,
there and act fools, and they think they're entitled for why? Because you're anonymous. Like, come on, man.
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
that's my part of my day job. So I don't really want to be the bad guy when I come home and I sit down and I try and play.
yeah, that's fair.
Uh,
I like I said, I think you're not alone there. I think a lot of people, and maybe not for the same reason. I doubt most people who want to play the good guy are thinking like, man, I was a real dick to my employees today. I should go be nice on the video games tonight.
oh,
I think
well,
that.
sometimes I have to be a dick because we have deadlines that we have to hit, and I know I'm being a dick, but it's for a good reason. I mean, we all want to eat at the end of the week, right? So we need to make
Sure.
this money.
Yeah.
I mean, if they don't want to eat and they would like a pay cut, please step into my office.
It's like, boss, I
I'd
want
love
you
to
to be
save
nicer to me, and you can keep some of my salary.
Actually, technically, I actually do pay above minimum wage, so there's a bit of wriggle room.
There you go.
Officially, I am actually the lowest paid person, though.
I mean, that's very bizarre to hear, coming from a country of top down payment. Like we definitely pay the high end, or the top of our tier or top of our hierarchies very, very well here.
Well, I'm still in the invest in your business stage, so we've been running
Yeah.
for 4 years now.
Okay.
So in the first few years, I know I'm going to be the lowest paid because I'm reinvesting any of the profit I make back into the success of the company.
Sure.
Because I can't get a bank loan because they all think I'll piss off back to Australia. I'm a permanent resident. I've been here for 8 years. I'm not going anywhere, but because I don't look Japanese and I don't speak Japanese fluently, I'm a credit risk. Yet
Sure.
my part-time staff member can get a loan.
Right.
Why? So yeah, I have to reinvest my profits back into the business.
Well, you'll be all the more proud of it at the end when you do that.
Oh, I'm very proud of it. It's 4 years now. I've had two of my competitors go out of business in that time, which is wonderful. And, I hope many more do. Look, yeah, less competition means they have to come to me, which is
There
good.
you go. All that's left is the goat. We got nobody else to go
That's right.
to.
That's right. And the more successful I am, the more staff I can hire. And if I can hire more staff, I have more free time. And if I have more free time, more city plans.
Oh, it all comes together. Perfect.
Exactly.
We'll get
it's
to that.
wonderful.
We'll get to that 128.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what we all want.
Oh, fantastic. So do you have any on the horizon, like anything you're going to be releasing soon?
Well, I've got I finished the Lakeside Cabin plan, and I've got a revamped Ten Pines plan going on. I do want to finish off at least one good plan for each settlement in the Commonwealth. But there's a few of them, like Sanctuary. Sanctuary, I want something big.
Sanctuary is intimidating. To even start in there, I was always like I don't know where to go with this.
Oh, I have a plan for that. I know what I want, but I want Sanctuary to be a big plan, and I'm thinking 30 settlers. I want it to be a Diamond City rival.
Oh wow, that'll be fun.
But
it'll also be a PC
in the Triangle of
exclusive.
Death.
Yeah, right in the Triangle of Death.
It's in the Triangle of Death. Yeah, that's one of the ones that's going to be interesting. Because I basically see that as the Northern Minuteman outpost.
Sure.
Their administrative center, whereas the castle's more of their military center.
Okay.
So
fitting in
I'd
nice
like
with the theme of your overall design of like, what if all of these were an interconnected network?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. They need to be.
Yeah,
They
I
need to
agree.
be
That was the
for me to
whole
enjoy.
design behind Rise of the Commonwealth was the idea of like give players ways that they can kind of treat them all as a single unit instead of individual, because it feels really weird to play the game like it's a bunch of little colonies.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I would really love full control over the Industrial Revolution plots in my city plans.
Yeah, it's been one of those like again another one of those things that's forever on the board, and I just haven't found a way that makes sense to do it right now. Like I got C. Dante recorded all of the necessary things for me to do it. It's just like finding a way for it to make sense in the code for Rise of the Commonwealth. Just hasn't I haven't figured out a good way to do it.
Yeah, because you might see that I am a fan of the brewery. I like that because I imagine that one of the first things the Wastelanders are going to do with their terrible water supplies is start making some alcohol, which is safe to drink.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I can easily see myself putting 3 or 4 breweries across the Commonwealth and 1 or 2 in Far Harbor.
There you go.
Nuka World's problematic because I haven't found any settlement mods I really like. So you got the Nuka World Red Rocket,
Okay.
and you get that by either brutally slaughtering all of the raiders, or in my case, sitting back and letting Ada brutally slaughter all the raiders. Or you join up with them and you actually get that, and it's a nice settlement. It's a big settlement, and you recently had it in one of the city plan contests, and not many people picked it.
No, I think we only had one. I think we had one plan for that.
Yeah.
Which is shocking because
I
I think it's a really cool settlement. I think a lot of people just wanted to make sure that everyone could use their city plan was more of the motivation. But because I think it's a nice settlement to build in. Like red rockets are always fun because the structure is cool, and then it's just so much land mass you get in the Nuka World one.
Yeah, it is. It's a really, really nice settlement. Although I had a little bit of trouble with the base game not letting me activate that. I had to. Oh man, I ran that gauntlet like 6 times just to get my character in the Nuka World, and then I had to run open season. That was not fun.
Is that mod that lets you go in there with the Minutemen and just wipe them out?
That's the quest you get when you talk to the doctor and she says, "Please kill all the raiders."
Oh,
and you go,
yeah. Okay, that's the quest.
Sure.
Right.
Okay, walk straight up to the disciples and shotgun Nisha and all the other gang leaders. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So it actually takes a while to kill all the raiders. So, and then you get there, and then after turning on the power of the Nuka World, and then you get down there, and for some reason it didn't activate the workshop, and it's like, oh god, I just that was my Saturday unlocking this, and that happened for 3 times I played through the entire quest line, and it didn't unlock, and on the 4th time it did, so that save was immediately backed up.
I'll say, I'm surprised that you didn't just go make a mod. Just be like, all right, let's go take away all of the requirements on this and just make it mine.
Yeah, I had considered that, but Nuka World Red Rocket's not set up like any of the other settlements, so I don't really want to touch it.
Sure.
It's weird. It's very weird in the
all of the
creation
DLC
kit.
ones are a little weird in the creation kit. Like we had a lot of trouble getting Echo Lake Lumber and I'm trying to remember one of the other ones. One of the other Far Harbor ones to work at all. Because there were just so many weird issues. Like I had to recode part of some settlements to support it because it was just the way they designed it is not normal.
That's kind of odd because I got the Red Rockets in Far Harbor working just like a Commonwealth settlement. Excuse me.
Yeah, it was something. It was something to do with the way they linked the items together to the workshop. Like they didn't do it like they do for every other settlement. So I think it was my bet. It was just like the developers who were working on that just didn't fully understand the system, and so they didn't set things up the same way.
Okay.
So it's almost a bug in the way they set those up, but. So I wouldn't be shocked if they had bugs in some of the other ones too, like Nuka World, where they didn't quite set it up the way that we expect out of all the Commonwealth ones.
Well, yeah, the Nuka World one is done specially, so it's one that I don't want to edit.
So now you were saying at the beginning you were looking for some other Nuka World settlements because there probably are a lot of great spots you could build settlements in Nuka World because it's a pretty big map with not a ton in it.
It is, but one of the problems is getting a settlement made up correctly. I want my supply lines working, and for Nuka World, I don't think they really designed it for supply lines.
It should work. I mean, based on the way the code runs, like from what I know of the
Yeah.
code, it should work dynamically. It shouldn't require anything fancy.
It should. I've seen a few possible mods there, but Nuka World is big and empty,
Yeah.
and that's the problem. It's empty. There's no reason to ever go back.
That's a problem you could solve with settlements. Just
Exactly, if I can find one that someone else has already made.
okay.
Because I have very little free time. Well, if I'm making plans, I'm not making settlements. And the last time I tinkered around in the creation kit for one of those settlements, creation kit and I came to an understanding that it was going to eat my work, and I decided that it would be better if I were to go and shut that and stop cursing at my PC.
I think at some point I'm gonna like take the time and learn how to make settlements and turn it into a proper simple tutorial, just because it's something like I understand how all the mechanics work and I have a basic understanding of how it's laid out in the CK, but I really just need to go do it. Like I've got a bit of a reputation for knowing the settlement system, so I kind of want to do that if nothing else, just to make sure there's not something I have been missing this whole time. So maybe one day I'll make a tutorial. It'll make it easier enough for people to go crazy and make you a bunch of Nuka World settlements.
Well, that would certainly be fun. I would suggest the different areas that the raiders would take over, because yeah, they're gonna die when I actually do get the Nuka World. I might keep Gage long enough to get his perk,
Right.
but they're still gonna die. Horribly, terribly, and then I'm going to sell everything they've got and scrap it and build a new settlement with it.
Yeah, I'm getting a soft spot in my heart for the Raiders after doing all the development on Conqueror. Like I'm having a lot of fun with it, because they're definitely an underserved faction, because they're just painted as like mindlessly brutal, and it's such a huge like complete 180 from like the Minutemen.
Well, the Conqueror one, the one that you guys have made, seems like what Nuka World should have been. Based on the limited playing that I've done, it seems to be Nuka World done right.
I mean, that was kind of the goal. Is like it was treating it more like an alternate way to play the game of integrating weight in. But that was one of the things I found during development, was that Bethesda started down that road in the sense of there's a lot of integration in their event system for the Nuka World stuff. So like if you take the route of having the Raiders come take over a bunch of stuff, there's a bunch of random events that'll start happening in the Commonwealth that kind of make the place a little more dark, which is surprising, because like that's a kind of extra layer of polish you wouldn't expect from DLC. You would be like, nah, they're not going to bother. Like they don't need to go that far, but they did. So
yeah,
I give them more credit. I give them a lot of credit for their DLC. They really do a good job of making sure it's deep and interwoven with the game really well. And I don't think they need to. I think they could get away with being a lot lazier than they are.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, there are nice things in Nuka World. It's just that the playing as one of the raiders there, it's just not really. It's not so fun. I mean,
I don't think it's for
game.
everybody. I think even like the Conqueror reception has shown that too. Like even though we've taken a different approach and we've done something that people have, a lot of people have said what you said was that this is what I wish Nuka World was done. But there's still plenty of other people who are just like, I just don't want to play the bad guy. Like I never play the RPG as the bad guy. I'm not going to start all of a sudden. And so like I think the going the Nuka World route was a risky move for them as a DLC.
Yeah. Well, I already begun incorporating Conqueror plots into new city plans where they fit aesthetically.
Yeah, I think we tried so far to do, and I wish we would have thought of this earlier with the plans. Like the development of Conqueror is such that we didn't know about the skin system until later. So like we had already designed a bunch of the plots as Raider centric, and then it was like, oh, I came up with the skin idea, and then it was like, oh, we should have designed all of those plots to be generic and then put the Raider skins on them. But fortunately, like the ones Captain Coots designed for us are pretty. They're pretty. Like you can get away with putting them in a non-Raider settlement, I think.
I got two of them put in my hippie camp. There's one of them that has got his truck where they're making drugs, and yeah, they're
Right.
hippies. My hippies are druggies,
Sure.
and oh well, they're growing all the wild herbs you actually need to make the drugs. So yeah, my hippies are definitely druggies.
Okay.
That's the whole purpose of that settlement's to get the stuff you need to make chems or medication.
Huh,
So
I might have to load up your city plan in my playthrough because I've decided to play a melee chem junkie as my
uh,
character.
it's Lakeside Cabin, and you'll definitely need Wasteland Ventures all in one for most of the food, the crops
Uh-huh.
that the wild crops, and there's the MJC always free one that Tinuvia is maintaining. I
Ah, yeah,
hope I
okay.
pronounced the name right. I really do hope I pronounced the name right because that's got the Far Harbor drugs.
Ah, okay.
And then there's Coot's plot from Conqueror, which manufactures drugs, if I read the description correctly.
Yeah.
So they've got a very small food crop, and the rest is devoted to growing everything you need for your chem empire.
Ah, okay.
But that's sitting on Lakeside Cabin, which is a mod-added settlement.
So
They're
now,
all built around the lake.
do you have a neighboring settlement that produces snack cakes to profit on them?
I don't, but Abernathy Farm is really close,
Ah,
so
okay.
that's a possibility. Although I have seen a few other mods that place some settlements closer that I should look at. I also got Coots. He's got a Conqueror Gate type plot that spawns a settler that appears to be a guard. So both
Oh,
of those
yeah.
fit quite nicely.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, it's got the fire coming off the top at night.
Okay.
It's the big 2x2.
Right, right. Yeah, the 2x2
Yeah,
Marshall. Yeah.
yeah. I tend to have a 2x2 in most of my city plans, and the intention is that once you finish Old Guns, you should probably convert that to one of the artillery plots from Mega Pack Year 1.
Yeah.
Because before you've done Old Guns, the artillery doesn't work.
Ah, okay, yeah.
So,
That
so
was one of those ones I've been meaning to, like, it's just been on my forever to-do list of like little tiny adjustments, was to lock that design behind Old Guns so that it's not even available until after then. It seemed like that would be reasonable to do.
probably a good idea, although I might unlock it if I wanted to build it to make sure I've got the line up.
Another addition for your mod.
Well, I was editing that last night to add new furniture.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I've been redoing Ten Pines, so Ten Pines has a garbage dump very close, an illegal garbage dump very close to it. Got some junkyard dogs up to the thinking of the map northwest.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know what you're talking about because I use
Yeah.
10 Pines a lot for my Conqueror testing. I don't know why I chose that one because it's so far away. But it's for I want to test areas that are unloaded. So using the Triangle of Death doesn't work because they're all there.
Yeah.
So I use 10 Pines a lot for that. And yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's between the thicket excavations
Yeah.
and 10 Pines. There's like a bunch of
Yeah.
junk on the ground and then a bunch of wild dogs here.
Yeah, and noticing that, I decided that I was going to revamp one of my my city plan contest one to actually include your actually no, not your one. It's a Uwit's hobo scrap
Okay.
in there, so it actually has a logical reason to have a scrapping industrial plot. And I really wish there were more industrial plots. The regular ones. I wish there were more. Because without Mitigo's pack, I'm quite limited in picking regular industrial.
Yeah, there's not a ton of those. We go through waves of where like one plot gets is underrepresented, and then all of a sudden I think everybody realizes it. So then they go to fill that void, and then it makes some of the other ones look like they're underserved.
Yeah.
But because for a while, industrial was one of the deeper pools, and now that's not the case anymore. So, but I think that required industrial city. So if you're not using that, which
Yep.
I don't know if that one's been up to date or not, like, or if it's got some issues, because every once in a while one of the add-on packs will have a bunch of issues and everyone's complaining about it and it doesn't get worked on. And I don't know if industrial city is one of those or not.
It's still on my list as one that's supported and working.
Okay.
I actually have a wonderful list. Actually, if I was why I'm here and I'm talking, let me bring up my list of ones that I confirm that I know work really, really well.
Because I know like Metigio is currently on hiatus because he's just got a lot of real life work to do. But the only one I was certain of that had a lot of issues that's live is JT Bryant's. That's one I get requested a ton to put into a mega pack, and it's like I don't have permission. I would love to, but I don't know how many others are in a bad way right now.
The ones that I can confirm that I know work very well, obviously Sim Settlements, Conqueror, IDEX Logistics Station, which I love and I know you hate. I know you hate it, but
I only hate it for two. I hate it for two reasons. One is it's overpowered, and two is I keep getting people asking me to adjust the city plans to make sure there's support for it. And it's like I can't adjust the main mod to make sure it works with one particular add-on plot because that's terrible game design. So that's my annoyance with it.
For anyone still listening, if you're using one of my plans, the logistics station is generally in level 1. Level 0, you must babysit my city plan so it upgrades.
Okay.
You will get a logistics station sometime in level 1 for most of them. If it's not in level 1, it's in level 2.
See, most of them are going to tell you that's not soon enough. They want it level 0.
But I make my city plans for me first. And for my plan, I want it after this little dump has actually become an established settlement. They need something to trade before there's a trading station.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the one reason I always take issue with it is it's just such an overpowered benefit to get immediately that I'm just like. But I get why. I mean, I know it's like it became a super popular mod when it came out because there's not a non-plot way to even do most of that stuff. Like I still think to this day there's not a mod that just auto connects up a bunch of supply lines, and that's a hole in the market that he filled there.
The two features from that I use, one, the automatic settler to the closest settlement. I love that because I'm going to send a provisioner anyway.
Right.
2, you've got a wonderful, wonderful mod that sends out some settlers and a Brahmin to bring back all that junk I loot. I love that. It's wonderful. It's fun. And if I have a logistics station, I don't need to build your desk.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when he sent me an email asking if he could add that functionality, and I said yes, and he's like, wow, I'm shocked. I thought you were for sure going to tell me no. And it's just like, it's been on my list to do that forever. Like that was one of the features that's on Sim Settlements 1 that's still on I think I deleted it finally, but it was the last feature listed under the future that I hadn't implemented. Just because there's just so many, like the number of things I want to do is the list is longer than I have a lifetime to do. So it's kind of like certain things just keep getting pushed back further and further.
Oh, those are the two features I actually use from it. So
yeah,
there are other features that seem to be a bit more overpowered, but those are two I use and I like. Mega Pack Year 1, I love it. If you're using one of my city plans, I'd strongly recommend you have it because I'm definitely going to use it, especially if there's artillery in the plan.
Right.
Junktown. I heavily use Junktown. I think everybody uses Junktown.
Yeah, he's got a hell of a deep pool of buildings in that pack.
He does. Unfortunately, not everything really fits the aesthetic I'm going for, but it's wonderful. Float Sam and Jet Sam. I like that. Mostly it works, and several of the plots were made specifically for me, so thank you, you it, for those.
I think it would be a shorter and easier list if you told us if you have any that are marked that need some work, and maybe we can encourage those authors to either fix them or contact me.
They're around.
Yeah. See, that's a problem because it's like I said, JT Bryant's was one. Kev Ball's had some problems, and I fixed those for Mega Pack.
I've actually fixed a few of those problems and sent them back, and I think Awesome Town was updated recently. That's on my list as working.
Awesome.
Awesome
for Awesome Town.
Float Sim Jet Sand, Wasteland Ventures 2, Industrial City, Ruined Homes and Gardens. I love those gardens. Scrappers, Sim Homestead, Alturp's Animal Farm. Oh wow. Yeah. Alturp. Am I pronouncing your name right? I need more Brahmin, more animals. Come on, man, give me more farms. More animal farms, dude.
It's Altair, and he's currently, last I checked, he's working on some pretty cool stuff, but I don't think it's more animals. Like he's learning some new stuff right now that I don't want to spoil for anybody.
I heard rumors of a beehive, and I'm thinking, yes, give it to me. I want it.
I think there are like swarms of insects you can place in there, because I ran into one recently and commented like, "What is that buzzing?" And then somebody pointed out that there's like insect swarms in the game.
Oh yes, there are.
They're like on the Brahmin bodies, and so like you could use those to kind of simulate bees. Somebody could just put a whole bunch of those on a plot.
That actually could be interesting, but then we'd need some sort of honey product.
That's true.
Although that would be nice, considering I do like to play survival mode only. That's one of the things you'll probably notice with my city plans. You'll always find a water pump and a bed on level 0.
Do you build in survival mode?
I don't build in survival mode, but I test in survival mode.
Got it. Okay, because that was one of the things we noticed that's funny about Murmurakne's plans that he turns in for the city plan contest. He's always got them. His saves are always in survival mode. It's like, oh my god, you built this thing in survival mode? That's so much work.
Well, as I blatantly cheat when I'm free building, you'll find that I'm building in God mode.
Yeah. Oh, that's how I do it too. I'm TGM.
Yeah.
Like I had a mod for a while that Registrator 2000 did that you could set up. I think he still has it. He has it set up on App Purveyor to automatically update, but you could set up a set of console commands to auto run as soon as you start the game. And like I was using that for a while, and it was just like TGM and a couple other ones that were really useful for building.
Oh yeah, I have my auto execute.bat for Fallout 4, and the first thing it does is it turns off that hacking mini game to only give me the correct answer.
Okay.
It speeds up the console. That was, I think, one of the first changes I actually made to the game, because I hate those mini games.
I love them at first, and then after a few hours, I'm like, okay, I'm kind of tired of this. I'm ready for.
Yeah. It's like, first time good, second time, yeah, it's okay. 47th time in this session, I'm just sick of this terminal.
I always assumed, like, after, because there's like those couple points where you use that animation to pull the little plug out of your Pip-Boy and plug it in. I always assumed that was going to become a thing you did with terminals. Like, you get to Hacker 3, and then it's just like, use your Pip-Boy to bypass terminals. Is always what I assumed was going to happen, and then I was like, nope, that's not the perk.
No.
Instead, the max level perk on hacking is pretty useless. It's like you can't be locked out. It's like, well, you can't be locked out anyway. Like, it's like the lockout is so baby mode. It's like 10 seconds you get locked out.
Yeah, they increased the lockout for 76, but for 4 it's like, yeah, I'm gonna spend that perk point on something a little more useful, like I don't know, commando, gunslinger, scrapper.
Literally anything is better than that perk.
Strongback, scrapper. No. Did I mention scrapper? I like scrapping. There's never enough screws.
Oh, yeah. I remember my very first playthrough, I read Scrapper, and I was like, okay, I don't want to grab this right now, but what I'm going to do is hoard all of my junk, and I'm literally going to scrap nothing until after I get that perk. So then I just, like, after I got it, I spent like 30 minutes scrapping all the garbage I'd collected in various containers.
Yeah, that reminds me when Contraptions Workshop came out. I was so excited about that, and then I discovered it couldn't scrap anything.
Well, yeah, because the Manufacturing Extended ended up filling that role.
Yeah, it certainly did. Oh, wonderful door-to-door salesperson.
That's something I would love to get working in, not door-to-door salesman, but the Contraptions Workshop and what's the other one? Manufacturing Extended. I wish I could get those working well with city plans. It's like the triggering all those events and stuff and keeping track of them and making sure that they're working with the correct machines is just like it's nearly impossible to do that all from code on the fly with the tools that Bethesda gave us anyway.
I've noticed some of the more heavily scripted options, the most heavily scripted mods don't really work in a city plan.
It's unfortunate, because that would be a really cool way to use them, is to like create, like, hey, I pre-built this crazy machine, and then I'm going to share it with you guys so you can have a copy of it in your settlement.
Yeah, I mean, I'd really like to set up a recycling center, but that would require some mods, and they don't really work too well in a city plan.
Right.
Getting an automatic scrapping system set up.
Yeah. Oh, well, one day maybe. This is the type of things, like I'm slowly compiling a wish list of things I hope that Bethesda does better in their future titles so that I can make cooler mods. Because like I could see with the popularity of settlements, clearly they're like, okay, well, we misjudged the crap out of that since it was almost a cut feature. That likely, like this and then 76, like likely, whatever their next game is, whether it be TES 6 or Starfield, they will probably have some sort of settlement system in there or building system of some sort since it's so popular, and it'll be interesting to see how deep they go with it, or if they add support for some cooler stuff that they can do in it. And then we'll obviously be able to take advantage of it as modding when we're doing mods. But
I have been wondering, where do you actually get all the free time to make all these ideas?
I have a wife who goes to bed about 4 to 5 hours before I do every night. So she's an early morning person. I'm a night person. So I just have to fill all that time. And so it adds up to quite a bit per week. You start adding up 4 to 5 hour chunks 7 days a week. It's a lot of time.
Well, yeah, your kids are pretty young now, aren't they?
Yeah, I've just got one. I've just got one. He's a year and a half. So he is also he's on the same schedule as his wife. I mean, he sleeps for like 16 hours a day. So there's not a lot of interaction
sounds like
time
a
yet.
Cat, not a boy.
Yeah, he's mostly cat. He's 80% cat.
I've got teens now.
Okay.
My kids are teenagers.
Don't teenagers also sleep 1 million hours a day if you let them?
Well, they're not morning people, that's for sure.
Okay.
They're not morning people, and the eldest is studying for high school entrance exam. So, high school's not automatic in Japan. You actually have to pass an exam to get admission.
We should probably do that here, because from what I remember of high school, there's a lot of people who probably shouldn't have been there. Like, they're just been better off going and training to be an actual go do a job somewhere.
Well, as nobody will actually hire you if you've only finished junior high school.
That's true.
Yeah, she's spending all of her time studying, and she actually hasn't seen any of the Sim Settlements work that I've done.
Does she play video games?
No, she hasn't since she started studying for the high school entrance exams. So she knows that I'm making this stuff, but she hasn't seen any of it.
Yeah.
So,
what do you think she would like? Do you think she would have any interest if she saw it? Like, would this be up her alley to design little cities?
Would.
Yeah.
It probably would to be playing with the city part, but the rest of Fallout 4, no, not really.
Yeah.
Whereas my son has absolutely zero interest in role-playing games.
Okay.
And wants me to buy him a Switch, which isn't going to happen. No. If he wants that, he has to convince his mother to get it, and that's never going to happen. Never.
So that's funny. That's also shocking to hear. Like, it's so common here. Like, everybody I know, their kids, all their teenagers have Nintendos and PlayStations and Xboxes, etc.
I did get the kids a DS a few years ago, but since they entered junior high school, they don't really have time to play around on it so much.
School's a little more serious business there.
It's definitely serious business.
Yeah.
Particularly because I came to Japan 8 years ago, so we went from an English-speaking country to a Japanese-speaking country.
Sure.
And that meant everybody has to catch up on the local language. So they went from school in Australia to school in Japan, and that was a bit of a change. So.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. They're all teenagers. I was thinking, for whatever reason in my head, they were born there, but no, they would have had to adapt too.
They were born in Australia. So
okay.
Yeah, we arrived 8 years ago, and while their Japanese is certainly much better than mine, it is difficult to go to a language that's completely back to front to English.
Sure.
So hopefully they will actually get to play with some of the stuff that I've made. They're like, Dad, it's not fair. You're sitting there and you're playing computer games. No, I'm making city plans. You're playing games. Well, when you grow up and you work 40 hours a week like Dad, and then you don't go to the pub and you don't go smoking, you can sit down in front of the PC and make this stuff too.
All right, so we got some future city plan makers.
I hope so.
Over there. Well, hopefully by the time they're old enough to do all that, we'll have a much cooler platform to do it in. Because I hope we're not still playing Fallout 4 in 6 to 8 years. We hope we've got a much cooler game to play with better mechanics.
Yeah, I'm not going to hold my breath too much for that from Bethesda, because they do incremental updates to
Hey,
their
in,
engine.
in 8 years, I might have to make my own game. Like that's a long time.
Well, I could certainly build you the infrastructure needed to start building your own game.
There you go. Yeah, well,
Yeah, the build
that's another one of
systems.
those Pandora's boxes I'm always afraid to open because I see what happens to people when they go down the indie game studio route. It could be a scary place.
There's no way I would be doing that unless I had an independent source of income.
Right, right. That seems like an awesome thing to
Because,
do if you like are independently wealthy somehow. But
yeah,
I think anybody who's in that state of life probably is not spending their time making products for free for people.
yeah. I, I, a lot of the indie games are, quite frankly, crap. There are some good ones. RimWorld was great. Stardew Valley was wonderful.
Yeah, there's
But a
always a few
lot of them,
treasures out there, but I think that's one of the flack. That's some of the
yeah.
flack that Steam gets right now is that they're kind of a shovelware store now. There's just so much
Uh,
garbage in there.
I think for $99 I could put a game on Steam. But it's just a small monetary barrier to putting up something on there, and they're not actually curated.
Right.
Uh, Still, for all of its faults, it's still better than the Epic Game Store because I can't really find anything in there that I'm looking for.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out because now the Epic Game Store, Discord's getting into games. I think Amazon's trying to get into that. I think they're selling games through Twitch. So like, it'll be interesting to see if we get a real challenger to Steam and not like Epic Store seems kind of phony right now. They're just kind of bullying their way in with exclusives. But it'll be interesting
they,
to see if somebody actually dethrones Steam or at least gives them a run for their money.
they are, but they've got to actually meet some of the basic standards that the Steam client actually has.
Yeah.
I mean, I can sort my games on the Steam client. I can easily check to make sure that they're not, corrupted or anything, which for some reason happens more than I would expect for a Bethesda game. Okay, and validate files, and 64 files need to be re-downloaded. Yes, wonderful.
It's a process we all got to
But
get
yeah,
used to. Yeah,
yes,
Steam is a good platform, and they've had many years of increments to introduce all these little quality of life features. I love Steam in the sense that it's very versatile. It does seem it feels very dated. Like their interface feels. It's always felt like it's behind the times, and it's because they haven't had competition to need to modernize it. And I also
you mean
hate the forced automatic updates. Oh, that drives me insane. Like even when you set it to only install them when you launch the game, well, you still have to eventually launch the game and then they install anyway.
Yeah, the trick to get around that's to be in offline mode, but that doesn't always work. So unplugging the Ethernet cable definitely works.
Right, but that's too much. I shouldn't have to go through those hoops when I own the game. Like I should get to choose what updates and what doesn't. The same with like the Windows. Like man, I feel bad for anybody using Windows Home Edition because you're essentially guinea pigs for the rest of us because you have no like I think you can suppress updates for 7 days and that's it, but only you have to be a pro user to prevent the automatic updates, and which is I think is insane that that happens to
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
Ugh.
Well, at least the Windows updates usually work. So
Well, I
usually,
mean, it was that October update from last year that was a disaster where it was like deleting
I
people's
got that.
files. Did you lose
I
files
got
to
the
it?
October update. No, I didn't.
Oh, that's lucky.
I didn't. I didn't lose files to that. Although it did knock my school interactive whiteboard offline for. It took. How long did that take? It was offline for 2 days. It took about 36 hours to install that update for some reason. It was real slow.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
I didn't lose any files, but I couldn't use the machine that was attached to the interactive whiteboard for
Sure.
2 days. So
Yeah,
uh,
that's sketchy practice. I'm not a fan of automatic updates. Like I get they're probably doing it to protect themselves from the other side of things, which would be like maybe possible legal culpability for exploits, like because they left if they leave a known problem in their software, then there's probably something they could get in trouble for, and it's probably like they had to choose the lesser of two evils, either force the majority to prevent this issue or leave people with their own control. But man, it bugs me as like somebody who likes to have fine-tuned control over my software. The idea of people just being able to force changes onto it is really upsetting.
yeah, I do wish it was in more smaller, discrete patches because with the exception of the interactive whiteboard, we're an all Linux shop for our work stuff.
Okay.
And that keeps games off systems that shouldn't have games on them.
Sure.
And I can centrally manage them so they get updates when I say they're getting updates.
Right.
And I don't need to spend money on licenses for that. But the home game machine, we're running Windows 10 on that, and it's been mostly okay. You probably saw me on Discord recently with a mysterious Fallout 4 bug where reading notes would crash.
Yeah, I did see that. I was wondering because you said it was standing there for 5 minutes. I was wondering if it was coming in frame by frame, or if it was just just frozen in time there.
It just froze in time, and that was actually solved by updating video card drivers.
Huh, interesting.
Thanks ATI. I don't know what changed in 4 days, but installing new video drivers is what fixed that, which is weird because I still don't know what does a video driver have to do with showing a note object.
That seems like that's what gaming was like back for me. Like back in high school, I remember having to do stuff like it was always the game. If games would break, it was just weird stuff. It would be like uninstall your sound card and now the game works. Like just weird stuff you had to do to get things working. But that doesn't seem like something you really have to worry about anymore. Now it's just, for the most part, and at least from my last 5-6 years of gaming on PC, is that I've never had to do anything special to get games running. It's just like install them, done, works, no problem.
Yeah, the last time I had to do that, I had one of the old Cyrix 6x86 CPUs. So, wow. Yeah, I dated myself. So that was what, 20 odd years ago?
Well, now you 100% dated yourself. I think you dated yourself way older before that, because most people were probably like, I don't know what that Cyrix thing is, but I'm not going to look it up.
Yeah, it was officially they proclaimed it was a competitor to the original Pentium, but it was basically just 486 on steroids. And to really date myself, well, it's 2019 now, isn't it? Yeah. At the end of this year, I will have been with my wife for 20 years. So yeah, I'm an
congrats.
old fart now. I'm an old fart now.
Is there a what would the Japanese mean for old goat? We could change your name to that.
Unfortunately, there isn't one for that.
Okay.
So yeah, it'd still be Yagisan, although I can't think of any polite ways to refer to an old goat. I mean, I can think of all the offensive words, and I don't really want to say those in the chat.
I bet there'd be like less than a handful of people that will even get it. If everyone else will have to look it up and translate it, and they won't bother.
You'd be surprised. Awesome. I've been here long enough now that I start subconsciously speaking Japanese on occasion.
Okay.
Whichever is the easier and shorter way to say what I want to say.
Sure. Well, I haven't heard you slip into it all yet in our conversation, so I appreciate that.
No, I'm making an intentional effort to use English because I don't have any native speakers to talk to often. So yeah.
Right on.
I'm trying very hard not to speak any Japanese.
Well, I appreciate talking with you today, Mr. Goat. Yagi-san, thank you for taking the time. We look forward to seeing more city plans from you. I'm especially excited to hear you announce when you've made it to 128. That's going to be like a celebratory day, I think. Be a big milestone.
You'll know. There'll be a bug report saying.
Awesome.
When I load my city plan list.
It doesn't support 128 city plans. This is unacceptable.
I need support for 129.
Oh man, I hope that's a long ways away. But yeah, it's been great talking with you. I'm excited to see what you got planned in the future, and definitely everybody go download his city plans. He's basically got his own category on the Nexus. If you go under Sim Settlements city plans, that's all Yagisan
they're
there.
almost all mine.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for talking about this.
It's been very nice being here today.
All right. Take care, man.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Take care.
Take care.
Take care.
Take care.